April 18th, 2010. VGN Radio presents Midwest Wasteland with your hosts, Kevin Baird,
Metal,
Sniper,
and Larry Mack.
And we have Brian, but he's going to be on here in a second. Tonight's topic, the military. Okay, let me get Brian on really quick, and then we'll start going around. We are supposed to also have Bill Bailey on, as well as Bill Bailey's friend. Bill did send out a message, if you're listening, but he hasn't yet appeared on Skype, so we're just going to wait and see when he shows up. Kind of like Brian, who's supposed to... He's
Kevin,
he's supposed to come 5 minutes early. But
I was... Dun, 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 dun.
I guess this is 5 minutes early for you.
Yeah, I got in like a 7:55, Dick. Where were you?
Dude, we've all been here.
Yeah.
Nice clock.
Nice. Yeah. All right, give me a second. I got to do some shit because we're waiting for Bailey anyway.
No, we're already started, dude.
Yeah. There is no more pregame.
Yeah, the show starts right at 8
Blog
o'clock.
Talk radio chick don't want to hear about Hold On.
Yeah.
My bad.
She's like, you can wait all you want. Your 2 hours have started.
Yeah. Begin. All right, fuck it. I'll wait.
Guys, there's a chat room up at blogtalkradio.com/VGN. If you want to go there and talk to the people that are in there, you can do that. As well as we do have a call-in line if anybody wants to call into the show and talk to any of the guests that we have, as well as the hosts. The number for calling in is 347-327-9476. I guess we'll start going around, and then if Bill Bailey shows up, and we'll add him and add his friend later. Basically, Brian serves... I know Brian served in the Navy. Larry, did you go all the way through boot camp in the Army, or what happened to you again?
Well, actually, mine was all screwed up with my particular job and the time I went in. They didn't do the usual boot camp thing. They rolled that in with your advanced training, so I didn't have like boot camp, graduate, and go on. I had one big giant cluster, so it depends on how you define boot camp.
That would be a no.
So you never went in. You never did push-ups.
Had I gone through boot camp, yes, I was in long enough that I would have finished that and been beyond it. Okay,
but you didn't really. So
correct.
Okay, so you went in. You did some studying or something. And then,
got to shoot some cement Russian soldiers and throw hand grenades around, and then they kicked me out. Yeah.
Did they kick you out? What happened there?
They kicked me right the hell out.
They said you don't qualify.
Get the fuck out of here is what they said. You fat bastard, just go.
So we don't.
More to do with weapons than he has more to do with weapons than the Air Force does.
But
the weapons the Air Force have generally do more damage.
But for our listeners, Larry, what happened exactly? You did what? What happened?
Well, the general's daughter was pretty hot.
Oh my God!
No, just kidding.
So full of shit.
Getting details out of Larry is so freaking difficult. I don't recommend anyone ever try it.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to talk about himself.
I know.
Well, it might have happened, but I'm not sure.
During my various misadventures in the Army, I wound up in an Army hospital, and while I was in there, they found out that I have a congenital deformation in my spine, and
His big toe is larger than his
and the requirements of the military job that I had taken on could lead to me being paralyzed.
You the bazooka guy, or did you have
me out?
The bayonet over the head, or what did you do in the Army?
I was the bayonet over the head guy. MOS 19 Delta bayonet overhead guy.
That's Cav Scout, right?
That is Cav Scout.
That's good.
And you can't lie now, Larry, because somebody who knows your bullshit.
and yeah, me bumping around in a 113 or a Bradley and lugging around, tow missile rounds, they said would paralyze me because my spine is screwed up.
Do you really have to be able to move just to reload a fucking gun? Come on.
Well, you have to be able to move to carry a 50-pound shell one end of the thing to the other without actually being able to stand up. That's kind of tricky.
Hot air balloon.
You have 4 feet of clearance and you're lugging shells.
You can just be the company gimp. They keep you in a box and they open it up and you roll out in the leather outfit.
The reason that even though it was medical, I say they kicked me out is because when the doctor said that, I went to the CO and flat out offered. I was like, you know what? Give me the waiver saying that if I wind up paralyzed, I won't sue the Army. And
ran like hell, don't lie.
No. I was like, I just want to go blow up Iraqi dudes.
I want to go home.
Back hurts.
Was it Iraqi back then?
Yeah, this is during the first Gulf War.
They're going to put you on a rocket pack. Around the battlefield.
Yeah, if they were willing to let me switch MOSs to jetpack guy,
Yeah.
that would have been great.
You could be the guy that looks scouts ahead.
Or Minesweeper.
Guy that's tied to the front of the bumper. All right. And then we got Sniper on. Sniper, what, just so I don't screw it up, what branch of the military are you in?
I'm in the Army.
And what do you do?
A 14 Juliet in terms of MOS, and that's basically I do like brigade level command and control. So pretty much just work on operation stuff. That's it.
Okay. All right. I have no idea what any of that means, but is that like I don't know? Is it like are you on the ground? Do you have a gun? Do you can you explain it a little bit?
Well, they pretty much give guns to everybody who's in. Basically, what I do is I just work in it's like a tactical operations center. I basically just sit in there with some high brass. They make decisions, and I say okay, and I put it on a computer.
Cool. All right. Awesome. And then we have Metal from the Air Force, right? Metal, what do you do?
I am, in layman's terms, a construction worker.
Awesome.
Basically, we deploy usually every 6 months. We're the highest deployed group in the Air Force. We build runways, roads, buildings. We operate cranes. Basically, any piece of equipment you see on a construction site. All we carry is M16. It's the only thing we ever shoot in our entire career. That's pretty much it. And we don't usually get hold of it when we're overseas. We never really see it.
Really? Brian's and my father was in the Air Force. Sniper, you're typing real loud, dude.
My bad.
It's okay. Just maybe just type a little. It's cool if you type. Just type a little quieter. That's all. I don't know why my voice is cracking, but maybe my manlyhood on the military.
Because you're around masculine guys.
Yeah, his big challenge now.
You didn't fucking do shit.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah, but no, our dad was in the Air Force, and I'm just curious if Larry was your.
He guarded nukes.
Yeah, he guarded.
Suck.
He guarded the German rocket bases.
But it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so I'm sure.
Well, right, yeah. Larry, was any of your parents in the military?
No.
Okay.
A couple uncles, but that's it.
So you didn't join because somebody was like, showing up to your house with an anchor tattoo all the time, being like, "You're going to join," that kind of thing. No.
That I just wanted to go like kill people and break things.
Were you broke? Was that
I was broke, and I wanted college money, and when I started applying to various colleges, it turned out I was neither black nor female, and therefore couldn't get much government help. So it was the Army or find large sums of cash under the couch. Okay,
all right. Metal. Did you come from a military family?
Well, just on my father, the male side. I mean, my father was in the Army. My grandpa was in the Army. My great-grandpa was in the Army, and I'm in the Air Force. So, yeah, I pretty much just chose the easiest path. When they said 6 weeks of basic, I was like, what? 2 weeks shorter? Yeah, just sign me up.
Oh, shit. Christ. I went on for fucking ever.
All right, we'll get to that in a second. Sniper, how about you? Were you from a military family?
No, I'm the first one in my family to join up the Army. Pretty much just did it for the college money.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody was broke, and actually, Metal. Were you broke?
Yeah. I joined 3 months after graduating high school. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, well, let's talk a little bit before we get to boot camp and stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the recruitment process because I'm actually curious about it. Brian. Let's start with you since you're the oldest on here. Because I'm not even sure how this.
Always got to tell motherfuckers that.
He's the oldest anyway.
I'm not really.
He's the oldest guy that listens to this.
It was
show.
The First World War, and you had to go in.
I meant the oldest time on this show. Actually, everybody knows that you're the oldest guy in the world. No, but I don't even know how you actually, because you've never actually told me that story. How you
Why I went in? It was real simple.
No, not why.
They don't pay you to fucking sit on a couch and read comic books when you're fucking out of high school.
How did you enlist? Did you just drive up to the enlistment office one day?
Yeah, I decided to go ahead and take the plunge and start. I knew it was gonna be like filling out, an advertisement for a credit card. Because once you do that, they're all over you. Plus they were already calling the house and shit. And one guy in my class, in fact, originally I was going to join the Army, right? And I was just like, I had no fucking clue what I was going to do.
But you like that little sailor costume.
I wanted a free pea coat. Hell yeah, dude. That fucking army jacket is ass. Fucking pea coat, dude. You can wear that out, Anyway. So yeah, one guy in my class, he wanted to go in and he wanted to go airborne. And I'm like, I don't want to jump out of airplanes. It just sounds like, you have enough problems on the ground with people shooting at you, let alone flying around with a Kleenex over you and people still shooting at you, What are you going to fucking do? Shoot back and hope you hit something? That's not going to fucking happen. So, but I'm like, helicopters, I saw Apocalypse Now. So who the fuck didn't get a hard on with the Ride of the Valkyries playing in the background? I'm like, hell yeah, that fucking, I don't know that I'll actually fly anything, but it'd be kind of cool even if they just teach me how to work on it. That'd be kind of cool. And that was all kind of good at first until it got to a point where, because I went down the recruiting station and they were, they're friendly, of course, because they're paid to be. And later on, the guy told me, he's like, dude, I don't know if this is what you want to do. And I'm like, why? He goes, because when you left and you told them, like, what you want to get into, they were laughing. They're kind of like, that guy's just going to get into whatever the fuck we put him into. And they were joking between themselves about what fucked up shit they could put me into. And I'm like, okay, we won't be joining the Army then. And another guy I knew in class said he was going to join the Navy. And I don't know fuck all about any of that. Boats, the biggest boat I'd ever been on was when I went fucking fishing, a little goddamn canoe looking thing, a 1-2-man job. So I was like, well, fuck it, I knew the Marines was the only fucking was the only group that never tried to fucking approach me. And I was like, well, I just don't guess I have what it takes to join their ass. And the Air Force guy was like asleep. He just didn't care whether I fucking wanted to join or not. And I understand you had to have an IQ to get in with them. And I'm like, well, you don't need that with the Navy. So, dude, all I could see myself doing was like shoveling coal into a boiler. I'm like, did they pay you to do that? Because I'm in. Don't really need fucking a whole lot. I didn't have a lot of aspirations. I just wanted to get paid and go see weird shit in other countries, which by God I fucking got to do.
So they didn't approach you. You kind of went in.
Yeah, they didn't fucking drag me out of my house.
No, but I mean, how they go into schools and stuff like that.
You will join. No, yeah, it was like, well, what are you going to do? And all my friends were like, well, we're going to college. I'm like, that sounds gay. I ain't doing that. So fucking
bunch of nerds.
Yeah, I know.
College.
Okay, Matt and Bailey.
But they have like really weird. Like the Navy has like some of the coolest fucking jobs in the universe. Like I'm like one of my guys I knew in boot camp was like, well, "What are you here for?" I'm like, "I'm going for engineering." "What are you here for?" He goes, "I'm going to be a parachute folder." I'm like, "You're what?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah, dude. I fucking fold parachutes for the fucking guys that jump out of planes and shit."
For the next 4 years, that's my job.
Can you imagine that?
It won't suck at all. Spending all day folding fucking parachutes.
I'd fold laundry for the fucking military. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. So,
although I suppose all the other dudes are like real nice to you because hey, I'll fuck your shit up.
Dude, it's the military, I thought about later, I'm like, there's some way they fuck with you when you're in. They don't just let you get away with some cake fucking job like that. There's got to be some bullshit attached to it. Like they shoot live rounds over your fucking head while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Bailey, yeah, you there?
I do that anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You move your mic a little bit away from your mouth if you can.
I can fucking hear you through my headphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's all right. We went around earlier and just talked about the branch that everybody was in. We have Sniper on, who's in the Army, and we have Metal on, who's in the Air Force. And Brian was in the Navy, and Larry never made it into the Army. Could you just tell everybody what branch of the military you're in and what you do?
I'm in the Navy, and when I originally went in, I was a non-designated plane captain that worked on F-14s, and now I'm just a pencil pusher.
Okay. All right. So you work at a desk, is what you're saying now today. Is that right, or?
Yeah, pretty much. And
Okay. That's cool. Everybody, I mean, that seems like that's what we got. If everybody was expecting big combat stories tonight, doesn't appear that's going to happen.
Rambo will not be making it.
But that's cool. All right, so Larry, how did you go about getting recruited? Did they approach you, or did you go in?
They came to Larry's house. Sir, you have what it takes to be all you can be.
Actually, they did come to my house, dick. So there you go.
God damn. They're selling Girl Scout cookies at the same time.
I actually I signed up while I was still in high school. They had a thing where you could sign up while you're still a senior, and then they just sort of hold your spot till you graduated, and then ship you out.
Yeah.
delayed entry program.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And that's what I did. They I believe initially they came to the high school, although I may have actually gone out to the recruitment center. And said, hook me up. And they came to my house because I was still a minor, so my dad had to sign off on everything. And the recruiter was cool. He's going over all the paperwork, and he's like, okay, have you ever used illegal drugs? And he looks at me, he goes, yes, that includes marijuana. He goes, and then real quick, he goes, but before you answer the question. I was like, okay. He goes, if you say yes, I can't take you. And you will get a piss test, but marijuana stays in your system for 3 days. So, have you ever used any illegal drugs, including marijuana? And I was like, and I take the piss test when I go down for the actual test in a couple weeks. He's like, yes. I was like, no, I have not.
You lied to your country, sir. There you
go. Bailey, if you're interested, we have a chat room up, and as well as anybody that's listening live, you can go on your browser to blogtalkradio.com/VGN, and there's we got a lot of people in there tonight. There's about 15 people in there right now, although, yeah, a good portion of them are just guests.
Yeah, I'm not there either.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, but a lot of us are. So anyway, if you want to go there, you can check that out. We also, if you're listening live, we do have the phone lines open. The number's 347-327-9476. We've been having a little bit of a problem with people crank calling the shows. So if you call in with an anonymous number for some reason, I won't be picking up the line. And you can still crank me with a...
We're on to you.
Yeah, a non-anonymous number, but I'm just... the odds are that you're a crank caller if you're calling up with anonymous. Okay. So, Sniper, how'd you go about getting recruited? Somebody come to your house, or did you go in? How'd that go down?
Well, it's basically kind of a long story. I was like halfway through college and kind of ran out of money, didn't have a place to stay, and I was just basically living on campus at the school, like living in public buildings and stuff. And one of the security guards basically like, all right, man, you got to go.
Listen, hobo, you got to get out of here.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And he's like, if you don't have a place to go, there's an Army recruiting office downtown. He's like, I got a couple people in the Army. He's like, it's not bad. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And next thing you know, I'm signing the dotted line.
You're like, you're going to eat that sandwich?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so... did you ship out right away when you went in? Were you like, I got nowhere to go, I need to go today? Or how did that go down for you?
I basically just told them, get me the hell out of here as soon as possible.
Really? Wow, okay. They just throw you on a bus or something, and that takes care of it. Huh. Metal, how about you?
My junior year of high school, I came over the intercom, they were like, anybody wants to take the ass across front? It's like, well, I got either math class or a random test. So I was like, all right, I'll take the ads up. Screw that. So I went and took the test, and there's Army and Air Force, and they're all watching us taking the ads up and stuff. And and I got a pretty high score in mechanical, and so the Army and the Air Force both approached me afterwards, or a couple days later, and they're like, well, why don't you come over? And my dad was in the Army. I was like, yeah, I'll go talk to the Army guy. And during that time, my parents were going through a divorce, And my dad had moved away, and I was living with my mom. And my mom didn't care, and I wasn't really talking to my dad that much. And I went up to the Army guy, and I was talking to him. We were just talking. I was like, "So you guys got any out?" "Well, I always want to be a tank driver." He was like, "Well, we can get you in that job. We can get you a job. He's just trying to get me through and all kind of stuff." And I was like, like, give me a second. And during that time of Christmas, I went home with my dad to Iowa. I actually lived in Missouri. I went up to Iowa, and when I went up to Iowa, I decided to live with him instead of my mom. And he said, "You need to sign up for the Air Force." I was like, no, I got all this stuff with the Army. And then I went in there and we started talking. He's like, "Oh, yeah, 6 weeks of basic training." I was like, "What? I thought it was 8. She's like, "No, it's 2 weeks short." I was like, "Okay." So I started talking to him instead. And pretty much I went in there. He's like, "All right, you get 5 jobs. Maybe you'll get those jobs. Probably not, but put them on there anyway." And I was like, "Okay." So I was putting stuff like A130 pilot mechanic and all these really cool jobs. And right behind I put construction worker, because it was just kind of. He said, "Just choose one that you might get," and that was kind of the big thing for basic. Also, with the Air Force, it's a delayed entry program. I heard Sniper say it earlier. If you want to join the military right now, don't join the Air Force. They usually, for me, it was a 9-month waiting period after I was eligible to actually go into the Air Force because they are overmanned right now, apparently, the Air Force.
Oh, yeah, it's like that in all the branches
they make
now.
you wait a little bit. So, yeah, that was kind of my whole issue with the Air Force and stuff. The recruiter hates me now, so needless to say.
All right, Bailey, how about you, man? How did you get? Did they come to you or did you go to them?
Well, Kevin, you might remember this.
The judge gave me a choice.
Well, it kind of came down to a judge. You might remember, originally I was signed up to go into the Marines because I was desperately trying to earn my father's love. And I got in some trouble my senior year, and it came down to, they were like, "Well, listen, we can't have any legal stuff over your head before you go into boot camp, so you gotta, get rid of this stuff." So, my attorney was like, "Well, if you just serve your time and get it done and it's over and it, get it over with, then before you go in, then before boot camp, you'll be good to go and you should still be able to go serve." Well, I went and did my 3 days in lockup for the weekend, and it ended up making the papers that, Bailey's serving his time for the 3 days so he can go away for Marine Corps boot camp. and the recruiter didn't like that because he said that gives the Marines a bad name. I don't know, man.
Hey, he's dollar bill.
Yeah.
That shit's newsworthy.
Yeah. So, it was like Bailey decides to serve his time so he could go away for Marine Corps boot camp or whatever. Well, my recruiter didn't like that too much and said, "Hey, man, we could try and get you a waiver, this and that, but this isn't going to work," and blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
It was going to cause me more problems, headaches than good. So luckily, my good friends Brian Stair and Mike Preston had a really good recruiter that didn't care about all that in the Navy. So they took me to see him, and he's like, "Yeah, no problem, man. We'll sign off on a waiver for you, and we'll take you." And then instead of going into the Marines, they're like, that kind of behavior is smiled upon, and because it involved, drinking and fondling women or something, and that was before Tailhook, and so I ended up joining the Navy, and the rest is history.
Okay. And you didn't ship out right away, though, right? You.
No. I was in the delayed entry program then.
Okay.
Signed up, still finishing high school and an OWE with you.
Right. All right. So, just so all of our listeners know, if you guys can remember, we'll go around. Brian, what year did you enlist?
86.
86. Okay. Larry?
90.
90. Metal?
2008.
Okay. Sniper?
2007.
Okay, and Bailey?
It was 90.
Okay.
Or what was it? No, 91 actually, and then I didn't go away till 92.
Okay. So Brian was the only one involved in the Cold War, basically.
Not really.
No.
I signed up like during Desert Storm, but
The Cold War with the Philippines, perhaps.
But
the Australian army decided to suddenly start lobbing grenades at our fucking ships, and mine would have
we
exploded.
would have been glad you were there. Thank God Brian's there to keep us safe.
I didn't even know
from
you
the New
guys.
Zealanders.
I'm like, who's that idiot?
But I think there was a different feeling in the air, though, because, you had the Russians out there that, that
Oh, yeah, we did see them.
Yeah, that would have been, just a different thing. Okay.
They're on the other side of the island fighting monkeys.
So I've always, like Larry's kind of brought up something that I didn't quite understand is that, how you get in and what happens immediately after apparently isn't always just boot camp. If you want to call into the show, this can answer your question, Bailey. The phone number is 347-327-9476. 347-327-9476. We'll be taking calls throughout the show. I guess you just don't go immediately into boot camp, or maybe you do. So, Brian, what happened? Like, you got on the bus, and where'd you go? I mean, what happens? You got on a plane?
We got on a bus, and then they put us on an airplane. And these cats had all, because it depends on where you live, is sort of, I thought, like, where they sent, like, which boot camp you got to go to. But I think it also has something to do with, like, what you decided you were going to, or was decided for you.
What you were going to do.
Yeah. And so because some of these cats came from, like, down south and shit like that, and I felt kind of bad for them. Because it was June, and we're entering a Midwest summer, and, it gets hot down there, but it doesn't get like it does here, It's like fucking Vietnam and shit. So, I was on a bus, and I was on an airplane, and I'm on this fucking airplane. I'll never forget this, man. I'm trying to sleep, because I'm like, God knows when the fuck I'm going to get to sleep again. And I didn't bring nothing. I brought a toothbrush, and that was it, because my recruiter told me, just bring a toothbrush, don't bring nothing else. And I just spent the whole goddamn day getting processed. They process your ass, and
Literally.
it's an all-day fucking event. I mean, it's just retarded. So I got on the plane, and I'm trying to fucking sleep. At this point, I'm like, I have to. If I don't sleep, I'm going to fucking die. And the one guy, I was sitting next to two guys. The one guy on my left was obviously from New York. I could totally tell by his accent. And then I don't know where the fuck the guy was. I was next to him, probably Ohio, because we got nothing but retards out here. And the guy kept waking me up going, this dude next to me won't shut the fuck up, man. He's like, this guy's talking non-fucking stop. What am I supposed to fucking do? And I'm just like, what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, I mean, I can't help you.
I feel your pain. Some asshole next to me keeps waking me up.
No, this guy was fucking massive. I wasn't going to tell him that. That's why I was like, why? Just tell him to shut the fuck up. He'll shut up. So I fucking, it was my trip out in my airplane. And then, of course, you land, and there's people, and they're like, okay, you people, form up over here. And that's pretty much where you figure out where you're going. They're just like, just get in this group, and just get in this group. They find out who you are. Then they realign you, because obviously you were in the wrong fucking group, right? and then, I don't know if that was everybody. I know it was for me. And then they're like, okay, follow us. And then that's when the shitstorm starts.
What was that, boot camp?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they basically bust you from the airport to I went to Great Lakes Naval Station.
Okay, we'll get to that then in a second. So Larry went to some sort of classes or something, so we know that.
Like summer school.
Yeah, apparently he got the
little yellow bus and camouflage,
shoot guns and throw grenades. I'm having a lot of fun, And then
yes, that's exactly what it was. I spent the whole time mumbling, "I'm having fun," like a mongoloid.
I had a helmet, yeah. Was it plastic and orange with a little flag on the top? Yeah, I didn't know. That's it. No.
So the guards could see me at nighttime, so I didn't get hurt.
Flash tank.
He's just in a big yellow outfit.
It's like Pac-Man.
Big orange gun stuff. Come on, Larry, play with everyone else. Yay! All right, Larry. Well, explain then what exactly happened with you. You got on a bus, or you went on a plane, or what happened?
Yeah, I got on a plane and they flew me down to Kentucky, and then they put me on a bus and they drove me to a army base, and then they got me off the bus and stood me with a bunch of other guys and yelled at us and
Ripped the teddy bear out of your arms.
You're a lean fighting machine.
No, I claimed the teddy bear was a family heirloom, and therefore no.
Yeah, they take everything from you, man. Fucking gangsters. Thieving.
Actually, because I was on the delayed entry program, I spent a few months like going down in the metro parks with my recruiter and all the other recruits and playing like capture the flag and war games and shit, and then going back to the recruiting office and doing hand-to-hand fucking gladiator combat
You all oiled in
until
your
it's
underwear.
time to ship me out. And
They give you one of those football helmets and the padded things on both ends, and you stand in a circle and beat each other up like they show on TV all the time. Did you do that?
no, actually, our usual thing was because my recruiter was old hardcore infantry sergeant and was built like a house. The basic thing was all of us had to try and take him down, and he whooped all our asses. And there would be like 5 of us trying to take him down, and he'd just be like slinging us against walls and shit.
Did they do that thing where you're at the cafeteria and they make you eat like your whole meal in 15 seconds or whatever? Or no, is that just like SEAL training, or is that did that?
Yeah, they don't have
Yeah,
seals in the army, dude.
No, I'm,
Yeah,
I'm just asking. You know.
I blame the army for my obesity.
Well, you know, I was talking about it in the chat room. I was in Kentucky, so it was cornbread with every meal and gravy all over everything. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, Sniper, what happened with you? You just got on a bus or a plane, or what happened?
Well, they start you off at this place called MEPS, which is like your initial military in-processing place. They do all their physicals and stuff. And from there, they just kind of bust us to the airport. We had to watch a bunch of videos on how to, proceed with an airport. Like, don't talk to strangers. Don't, that kind of stuff.
Give away secrets you don't know.
Yeah.
Don't take
Do not-
candy, people
Do
you
not
don't
give
know.
your personnel file to people.
Take the grenades out of your pocket before entering the plane.
Yeah, and then from there they just shipped me down to Fort Sill, and it was an interesting story. I was down there in Fort Sill for like 2-3 weeks, and what they call reception. I like to think of it's kind of like military purgatory. It's before basic training and like not being a civilian, so they lock you down, and you got to study these little books that they give you that have like these soldier skills in them. And then they just decided, we're closing the basic training here down for a couple weeks, and they flew us all over to Fort Knox, and we had to do basic there.
So you were basically like, after being like a hobo refugee on the street or whatever, that it was like they were giving you free clothes and free food. You were like, really?
Yep.
This is I could just eat as much as I want. Everybody else can't get their food down. Your plate's all clean, or your tray or whatever. It's like spotless. Like they're just, I'm going to watch you, smart ass. No, all right. All right. Metal, how'd it go for the Air Force?
Well, for me, I joined while I was still in high school. I mean, I wasn't the smartest guy in high school, so it literally came down to if I got my diploma, I got in the Air Force. If I didn't, I had to wait another year. But we had to go to MEPS, like you were saying. We did a whole bunch of tests there. They made us do things that we always used to call the Underwear Olympics. They strip you down and make you walk naked, or not naked, but underwear on and stuff. That was fun.
Like a duck.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But we after that, it was running with our recruiter. We'd run, and then sometimes we do push-ups and all that kind of stuff because our recruiter was so cool. And it was just I was actually on a 9-month waiting list to get on, and I was at an air show, working air show for the Air Force because I was required to do it, even though I wasn't really officially in the Air Force yet. And I call on Sunday saying, "Hey, you want to leave tomorrow?" I was like, "I'm not supposed to leave till September." And he was like, "Well, some guy got sent back because he had a wart on his toe, so he couldn't join the military until it was off, and so the position was open." I was like, "Well, you know what? I had actually had to sell my weed to make my car payment, So I was like, well, shit, I need the money. So I said, yeah. And so I had 18 hours to say goodbye to all my family and everybody, and then jump on the bus. And this is 2.5 months after graduating high school. So it was just kind of, okay, pack all my stuff, listen to my dad yell at me for like half an hour for agreeing to it, and then, off I was. But it was 2 planes. I flew out of Des Moines, Iowa to Dallas. I had my last meal, which was Taco Bell. Not the greatest meal to eat before you go into basic. But Taco Bell, and then we flew into San Antonio, and that was the start of it. Was when we landed on the plane, because I got off the plane and we were just sitting there, and I was the last group to show up at 1:00 in the morning. I was the last group to show up for that group of basic, and they had a huge sign saying "U.S. military welcome." I was like, yeah, people are excited about me getting here. And then this lady comes up and says, "Sit down. What are you doing? Get over here. Sit in the seat." I was like, I just got here. They don't give us any training or anything. We don't do any of that reading. It's just we're from your recruiter to basic training. It's straight there. Wow. So I was freaking out, and we sat down, and then they let us on a bus with no military whatsoever with us. And I'm like, okay, we got about a half hour till we get there. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to get to sleep. And I start falling asleep, and then there's this chick. She's like, my dad was in the Air Force, and blah, blah, blah. And she was just nonstop, like, my dad knows this about the Air Force, and we got to do this. And I was like, just be quiet. I know I need to get some sleep. So needless to say, we got there about 4:00 in the morning, and they did this, made our feet stand on this little pad to measure our feet sizes, and all this other stuff, and we fell asleep, and about 3 hours later, we woke up and we started basic training.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. Bailey, how'd it go for you? You take a bus?
No. I did the MEPS thing, stayed downtown, flew out to Great Lakes. And I tell you what, I have to, in this regards, I have to thank Eric Butera for talking me into joining the wrestling team my senior year of high school, because even though I sucked as a wrestler, just having to go to the practices got me at least to lose weight and get into shape, for somewhat, good enough shape for boot camp and everything.
Right, yeah.
So I could pass everything and then get ready for that. And then, I went out to Great Lakes, and then when I seen all these kids that were in, I forget what, maybe Brian can help me, but the people that would be like in like they were like either disqualifying themselves or unstable. I forget what group they were in when they were trying to go home and stuff because they couldn't handle. Handle it or whatever because
they fucking think up all sorts of weird bullshit so they can get fucked out.
It was
too
like,
much. No. Once you're in forever. It's like, goddamn, man.
Like, it was too much for him.
Fat,
I'm like,
can't work out. Yeah.
Or just like just
my pants all the fucking time. Weird shit like that.
Yeah, they're mental cases. They couldn't handle it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, this ain't nothing, man. I grew up with a World War II vet for a dad, World War II. Oh. And all you got to do is fold your underwear correctly, pretty much, and
Yeah. Trying to get noticed. It's like high school.
Yeah. Me. I mean, back then I couldn't keep my mouth shut anyway, so I was always getting, PT'd, hitting the ground, and woke up at extra hour early and sent to, the drill deck for mandatory, whatever it was called.
Okay, so what I'll do at this point then is I'll just ask what boot camp was like, and if you have a story or anything, or you want to share anything about boot camp or whatever, you can do that. I
spent 20 years of my life trying to forget that shit.
Yeah, I know. If you don't have anything, that's fine. But you could just talk a little bit about it because people are interested. I mean, it doesn't have to be funny or whatever, but just
it won't be. Trust me.
Did you get your hair? Did you get your hair buzzed and all that stuff? And they give you a bunk, or Brian, break it down for me. What happened to you?
Not the fun.
I whatchamacall, I went through what you were discussing before, where you go in and you go through or someone was discussing before, you go through the process where you basically stand in your underwear which you have to get used to. You know, I mean, I grew up, it was just me and my brother, and that was pretty much my dad, and we didn't exactly just sit around in our goddamn house in our goddamn underwear. You know, I mean, you have to get used to being around 50 fucking dudes, and, you know, you're all gonna take a shower together. You know, you're kind of like, all right, we knew it was gonna be like this. You know, hopefully nobody's gonna be fucking fruity. Of course, there are some people, but you know, you don't worry about that shit as long as they don't have a boner and they're looking at you. You know, so. Then you have to go through the process of getting your uniforms and everything else like that. And, you know, they wake you up before any human being on earth is awake, you know, by coming in your room and shrieking at you. And which is, you know, not the usual way that you wake up. And that's when I realized.
It prepares you for marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's because you just went to bed drunk. You know? And wake up, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, I mean, that was when I realized it was real. I knew that it was no longer a game or bullshit because these guys came walking in there, and as I've described it before, it's not like they're yelling at you. It's like they're going into hysterics, you know, and it just freaks you the fuck out. It's like the first couple of weeks you're there, they wake you up super early until they realize that you're, you know, they get rid of all the babies and shit. And then you get to sleep in a little bit longer, like maybe an extra hour or something like that, which you're grateful for. And then you go through the lines, you get your uniforms, and then you have to put your name on the inside of uniforms, and they tell you that's because, I mean, it's for the laundry guys, you know, so they can, you know, put the laundry all together so you get your shit back. But they said for us it's because we're fucking retards, and we're going to end up trying to put on each other's goddamn clothes, and so we know the difference. And then you had to put it on your clothes exactly right. And there were dudes fucking that up. Like, they put their name down on their underwear, and they put their name, like, right in the back of their ass on their underwear. And they're like, what the fuck you're wearing? Your goddamn girlfriend's underwear? You fucking idiot? You know, they're not like, the Marines, I guess they're not allowed to swear at you, but the Navy, you fucking better be used to that shit, because that's all you're going to hear, man. I mean, it was unfucking believably scary, man. It was like, you know, like, yeah, my brother and I, we had a crazy stepmother, but it was like having a crazy stepmother that was suddenly a guy. They can kick your fucking ass, you know? And it's like, you know, at first it's like they don't know who's going to be your drill instructor. So, like, they had, like, a parade of just, like, foaming at the mouth crazies coming through our fucking platoon or whatever it was, and just, like, you know, coming unglued on us for what the hell ever reason. And then it's like, the only thing that you were permitted to have on you was your wedding ring. And I think if, like, you were religious and you had a necklace that had a cross on it. But even then, that they would hold for you. Everything else, like hair dryers, brushes, fucking, you know, anything, they took that shit and it was gone forever. And they're like, well, your recruiter told you that you weren't supposed to bring this shit, so we're taking it from you. We're going to sell it, and we're going to give the proceeds to fucking whoever, which we know is bullshit. They just kept them, you know. You know, but I mean, it was just, you know, then, you know, the whole time is like, there was no punishment yet. They don't do that until like after the first week, and then, oh fuck's sake.
And then they get creative.
yeah, they do. So that's what I was coming off with.
Okay, Larry, you want to talk a little bit about your experience then?
Going with Brian, talking about how they've changed it. You know, they're not allowed to swear at you. They're not allowed to like insult your mom. They're not allowed to insult your religion. You know, dumb shit like that. But
they insult everything else.
But they still manage to get creative with the shit, and they do still get in your face and yell at you and call you an idiot. But like comparing the real army to, or military, I suppose, to the shit you see in Full Metal Jacket. The craziest thing that I got in trouble for when I was in basic was the one day I was in my room, and somebody came in and said the drill sergeant wanted to see me, and I go down to his office, and I walk into his office, and he's sitting at the desk, and he looks at me like, and our one drill sergeant, he was like a sniper and shit, and he was all one of those like good old boy Southerners that you just knew like could snap your neck accidentally in a second without even thinking about it. He's like, McCloskey? I was like, uh-oh. I was like, yes, drill sergeant. He's like, I got a call today. It's like, okay. Have you written your mother since you've been here? I was like, I don't know. He's like, write your mother a letter. because apparently she called the Red Cross because she was worried because she hadn't heard from me.
Shit.
And the Red Cross contacted the Army, who contacted the commander at Fort Knox, who told my drill sergeant to make sure I wrote a letter home to my mom. and it was
Oh,
a big
God.
deal.
Wow.
You're fucked, dude.
Boy, I bet they were glad to see you go.
Wow.
That's funny. All right. Sniper, how'd boot camp break down for you?
Well, the way they got it right now is I think they just added an extra week, so it's 10 weeks long now. When I went through, I mean, they say that they're not supposed to swear at you and stuff, but, they'll walk into a room, they'll be like, does anyone fucking mind if I swear? And, even if somebody speaks up, they're not going to give a shit. So they'll be swearing anyway, They normally are not going to hate you or anything, at least in my experience. The only time I really saw somebody get hit is we're broken up into 4 different platoons, and one of the platoons, out of rivalry, one of our guys started yelling out the window at them, not knowing that the drill sergeant was right there, and he just comes up the stairs, and he's like, who the fuck just said that? Hey, he fesses up because he doesn't want us all to get in trouble. Drill sergeant just picks him up, throws him into a wall locker, and, just right out of the air, all the way across the room. There's a huge dent in the wall locker and shit. But other than that, it's pretty normal stuff. They just teach you all the shit that you need to know, how to shoot a rifle, how to set up a claymore mine, combatives. Now they're teaching kids CLS, which is bad because in CLS, to pass it, basically what needs to happen, CLS, by the way, is combat life-saving.
Okay, it's just what
to pass it, you need to stick somebody with an IV. So you got to trust somebody in this platoon that you just met to stick an IV into you. And, people will be passing out from that shit. Other than that, though, pretty straightforward stuff. I think the craziest thing that happened to us is during our little field training exercise, which is where they take you out to this little base that they have set up with, razor wire all around it, and you got to pretend to protect it from, fake enemies, which are the drill sergeants. What happened is the drill sergeants attacked us at night, so they came in, firing blanks at us, and some dude just hopped on this radio and just started calling for backup, and he didn't know that he wasn't supposed to do that. He thought the radio was for training, but he actually called, range control, and, all range control heard was, they're throwing grenades at us or something. So they just come flying down the road, seeing what the hell's going on. They realize it's a training exercise. Man, we got smoked for 3 hours straight in the middle of the night for that shit.
All right. When you say smoke, though, what does that mean exactly?
Smoked is just the term we use. Basically, they work us the hell out. Push-ups, jumping jacks, all sorts of stuff. Just for 3 hours straight till you're basically just falling over.
Is that basically the punishment that Brian was talking about? Is just lots of exercise, or do they do? Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty much it.
They get creative though with it. Ours, at least, big fans of the incline push-ups, which suck ass.
What's that? Where they put the boards under your feet?
Where you put your feet up on a desk,
right?
And have to do push-ups on the floor.
Wow. Could you do one, Larry?
Oh yeah, I had many chances to show exactly how many I could do.
Yeah.
Actually, our drill sergeant had his favorite, if he was really pissed at you, which I also got to do once or twice, was he'd tell you to come by his office to play with Baby. Baby was a big 105 shell, 105 millimeter bazooka, or howitzer shell,
right?
That they took the casing, filled it with cement, sealed it, and then, dropped it or beat it with a sledgehammer or whatever to bust up the cement inside so that it would shift on you. And you had to do gorilla presses with it, up and over your head and behind your neck and shit like that. And he'd just have you do that while he stood there and watched you until you couldn't do it anymore. And at that point, you could ask for permission to put Baby down. And if he felt you had enough, you were allowed to put Baby down. But then you immediately got to put your feet up on his desk and do push-ups until you asked for permission to stop doing that. And then maybe he would let you play with Baby some more, and he'd just keep going back and forth like that, basically till he wanted to go home.
Wow. That sounds pretty terrible, Larry. You do that a lot, I guess, huh? You
Once or twice.
described it pretty accurately. Yeah. Brian, did you have similar?
No.
No, nothing. You were.
We didn't have push-ups where they put your feet up, like that because I mean, really in the Navy, how it was more running and climbing sorts of bullshit. I mean, we didn't have like obstacle courses and stuff. It was more like push-ups, sit-ups, running in place, stuff like that because that's more what we were about.
Tying knots. Did you do a lot of knot tying in the Navy?
Yeah, we had to learn some of that, but it was always fuck. I forgot about that shit.
There was a lot of like push, in the up position and hold yourself up and, stuff like that.
Yeah, because you use that, but it wasn't, we weren't so worried about, how fucking strong are you anyway. It was more like, can you last? Because you could fucking fall over dead doing some of the goddamn jobs they got for you, standing watch for fucking hours on end. But, it was they pretty much worked your ass off.
Okay, metal. How about for you? What was boot camp like?
Well, for the Air Force, it was relatively easy from what I'm hearing from you guys. They could only make us do PT in a certain room, but
instead of 9 holes, they'd make us golf 18.
If they were really pissed, we weren't allowed to use the cart.
Yeah, I have to carry my own clubs.
It was the worst thing I ever heard was a drill sergeant threatened to pin a airman up against a wall with the flag. He was threatening to pin him up against the wall. Other than that, I mean, you guys say you had rooms. I mean, our rooms
we all shared the same room.
Yeah, pretty much. We had 2 separated bays, sort of. They had doors on both sides with 25 people in each bay, bunk beds. But
Air Force boot camp co-ed?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes you might get lucky to get girls across there was like a stairwell, and there was two different bays across, went by like a main door that went down the stairwell. And sometimes you get lucky to get a female across from you, but we got a brother group across from us, so we weren't lucky enough to get that. So the way ours were in PT gear, the second week you go around in uniform with tennis shoes. The third week you go around with uniforms and combat boots. Fourth week you go around in your uniform but with tags, your U.S. Air Force, your name, all that kind of stuff. And then fifth week, which is pretty much almost your last week, you went around in blues and took pictures and looked pretty for the camera. So it was relatively easy compared to what you guys were talking about. But for some reason, I mean, I know we're trying to keep it light and everything, but everybody was like, "Oh my God, I can't do this anymore." They hardly yelled at us. That's the worst part of it, was getting yelled at. If you can get yelled at, you can join the Air Force. All these. It's not really that difficult. I mean, there's actually. I don't know if you find this funny or not. A guy took a waxer, the actual floor buffer, and we have balconies. And he tried throwing it over the balcony, and it hit the balcony below. And his neck got caught, and so he's hanging over the balcony, holding himself, while it had just enough length where it was pulling on him, but not enough to choke him. So he's hanging on the balcony for like 20 minutes, yelling, like, "Help me," because he was stuck. He couldn't move. So yeah, that was pretty much the weirdest thing that happened in basic. I really don't understand it because it really wasn't that hard.
All right, Bailey.
What's up?
I'm sorry, what was the question after that buffer thing? My mind went blank.
How did boot camp go for you?
Relative.
No, we're on Bailey. Sorry. Yeah, your phone's just a little bit choppy there. It's okay.
Yeah, after you had enough with the buffer story. Boot camp, like I said, boot camp wasn't that bad. I mean, I got PT'd a lot because I couldn't keep my mouth shut. But like Brian was saying, I mean, there was just our guys made swearing an art form.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they swore so much that we picked it up
You were
so
in awe.
bad. Yeah, that we all picked it up that we were just like, it became part of our own language. I remember after graduation going out to dinner with my mom and dad and them asking me questions and me explaining, telling them, answering their questions and swearing to my mom and dad, oh, let me tell you about fucking this, you know, and then my mom's eyes just bugging out and I'm not even realizing, you know, I'm dropping F-bombs to my own mom, you know, and then my niece and like, I think Dana Boza drove down and Mario Caruso and they're like, dude, and I'm like, what, you know, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And my dad was like grinning, you know, he loved it, you know, or humor, you know.
I actually remember you telling me that story a long time ago too. That's funny that you did that.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. I had to almost like go through like a class to you know, get civilized again coming out of that, you know, so I could speak to my own mom. She was just like, oh my goodness, you know, saying the rosary that night, please Lord, get the demons out of my son, you know. But you know, I mean, the only like really bad experience I think I had during boot camp was like, you know, my grandma, who was like I was really close to, ended up dying like when I was like halfway in or close to the end of boot camp. And my mom wrote me and told me about it, and I could have went home for her funeral and stuff, but then I would have had to come back. I would have left boot camp and I would have came back with a different class and graduated with a different class. And I was like,
know who the fuck you get stuck. You could
yeah, you know. So I was like, I kind of was just like, you know, Mom, you know, I'm just, you know, I was bummed out about it, you know, but I was like, you know, I've been in this with these guys, and I think, you know, my mom was like, Grandma would understand, you know, finish up, and you know, and that was kind of hard, but you know. I finished up with the guys that I was in there with, and you know.
Did you get anybody that like they failed, so they had to go back and retake this shit? Because that's what happened with us. Like near the end, was like guys.
Yeah, we had a couple black guys that that just couldn't get the swim, the jumping off the diving board, and back when we went through, we still had those ridiculous pants. What the hell are they called? Dungarees or whatever, you know, with the bell bottoms and stuff that you jump off and then you have to blow them up and make them into life preserver and stuff. And these guys sunk like rocks, man, you know, and we just couldn't. We worked with them as much as we could, and you know, luckily I grew up in Bretton Ridge. My dad at the pool, you know, I was like a fish, you know, but I mean, we just couldn't get these guys. We worked with them as much as we could, but a couple of these guys,
the city dudes just never swam anywhere before, man. And I'm just like, thank God we live in the burbs. You know, that was like, well, when I went to junior high back in Michigan, there was a pool there, and that was like one of the courses they had. Like, you know, well, you got to learn how to swim and shit. So I was like, phew, you know, because otherwise that would have been a real fucking mess, man. Because there were dudes that just could not fucking swim, but they're like, you know, they tried teaching them and shit at Great Lakes. You know, they had like the SEALs or the fucking oh hell, those other guys, the other underwater fucking demolition dudes out there, you know.
Yeah, Mutsu guys or whatever. Yeah,
they were just out there teaching people how to swim. But we had guys that just like couldn't pass like any of the the written tests. You know, you had to learn naval history, which I don't even know why the fuck they taught you that shit because you never use it. You know, so yeah, they're teaching.
Well,
that.
You didn't stay in long enough. You got to do it for advancement exams.
Oh, it was fucking ridiculous, man. They fucking tried teaching everybody that, and it's like. You know, if you did well, they gave you a flag. So if you did well in athletics, you got an A flag, and then if you did well, like yeah, and it was just like all we have are A flags, and my fucking platoon leader was just like, yeah, you guys are dumb as fuck, but at least you can do push-ups. It's fucking retarded, man.
March in place.
Okay, so let's go from out of boot camp now into when you first. I mean, basically, if I recall, you get out for a little break right after boot camp, or no? That is Brian. You go first.
You can.
Okay.
You can, but they say if you do, you have the choice of going or you can just go straight in and then you get out. Like they say, you get out earlier, but I didn't notice any fucking difference, to be honest.
So did you go straight in, or did you go home right after?
Went straight in.
Okay, where did
Like,
you? What happened? Where did you go?
basically, I just walked across the base because we were at the Great Lakes Naval Station for boot camp, and it was a Great Lakes Naval Station for A school.
Okay.
So,
There was trade schools, right?
yeah,
And so you learned a trade, and how long did that go on for?
ever.
No, really. Before you got put on the ship and all that kind of stuff, stationed at a station. What? How did I didn't know any about like a trade school. What? Explain it.
Well, I mean, you have to be figure out what you figure that out before you even go in. You're like, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is where my career is going to what it's going to lead to. Yada yada yada. So that pretty much determines like where you're going to be going to school anyway. I'm like when I went in, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll learn to be a firefighter or something. Like they're like everybody learns how to do that. It's not like they have what are they going to do on the fucking ship if the ship's burning and shit, right? It's one of those gigs where
They call the fire department.
yeah, they're going to fucking the goddamn Coast Guard can put the fire on the naval ship. That's not going to happen. Everybody learns. I'm like, well, what about police? I was like, no, we don't have that either.
Okay, so what did you go in as? A boiler tech?
I wanted to be a boiler technician because I actually had no fucking clue what a boiler technician even was. So I'm like, well, how bad can that be, right? And
boy.
yeah, that was dumb. We all know. So I went in to do that shit, and that obviously didn't work out very well.
So you went to this trade school then to be.
I can see why you went nuts now.
So you went to this trade school to be a boiler tech. That they taught you how to do it. And how long were you, do you remember how many weeks that was, or months, or how long?
Well, if I had actually successfully completed my school, I think it probably would have been maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe even 6. I don't remember exactly. I know they do try to. Back then, they were trying to pump us out as fast as possible because whatever they teach you in books is you're just throw the fuck away the second you get on the ship anyway. Because it's pretty much it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
Safety
don't matter on a ship.
Yeah, it don't fucking matter because that crap is useless. The books that you're reading out of have nothing to do with the boilers you're actually going to use. Because they're way fucking more advanced.
So you didn't. So while you were there, though, you didn't do very good. You failed.
No, I was kicking ass. I just whatchamacallit.
But you just find a candy bar?
I talked to a guy who was a boiler technician, and I asked him like, "What's it like?" He's like, "Dude, you don't want to do this job." I'm like, "Why not?" And he's just like, "You will." He goes, "You will." I found out too that my ship that I was supposed to get on because I was actually like, this works out pretty good, man. I was learning basically all the different parts of the ship that I had. I was never really mechanically inclined before I went in the Navy. And I was really enjoying the fact that I'm like, wow, I could actually do this. The guy goes, yeah, you're going to Hawaii, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, if you're a boiler technician, you will never, ever get on land, okay? Because the ships out there are fucked up, number one. He's like, he just going on and on. I'm like, how you know? He goes, I just came back. Because I was just there, man. Because I'm here to tell you, you don't want to fucking be a boiler technician over there. I'm like, well, I don't want to just fail out. He goes, dude, you can go to, just tell him, when you get out, you're going to go to engineering anyway. And then, pick engineering or something. Don't fucking be a boiler technician. You'll never get out of the fucking. And he wasn't lying to me. He was telling me the truth. Boiler technicians and the machinist mates never get off the ship, man. Especially if their fucking chief engineer's a dick, and most of them are.
So you finished.
Purposely failed.
You failed.
I purposely failed.
So what do they do with you when you fail?
Well, first they come in there and they have you stand in a line, and they bring you in there, and there's 3 guys. All chief petty officers with a bunch of fucking folders and acting very officious, telling you, you better shape up, And I'm like, well, why don't you guys just send me out to the fleet? Like, no, we're not doing that. We sank a lot of time and money into you. Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, all right.
Okay, so you fail, and then they reassigned you, or what did they do?
Yeah, what happens is they finally, when you fail out, they bring you before you and they act like they're really fucking disappointed in you. You failed the Navy. You didn't do right. But before, you have to go through a string of dudes, man. You go through a string.
Failed the taxpayers.
Yeah, you actually have to deal with taxpayers. So you have guys that are citizens. Maybe they used to be fucking in the military, but they're not anymore. So they sit there and they're fucking chewing your ass, and you're like, fuck you. You're wearing a goddamn suit. I'm not listening to you. And every one of them used to be an admiral. You know, you get used to hearing that bullshit story after a while. Like, I used to be an admiral. Like, well, you're fucking not one now. You know, all of 19 and knowing what the fuck I'm talking about, right?
This is what,
fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah blah blah.
This is when the attitude develops, right? You've reached your fill.
The attitude develops when you're on the ship.
Oh,
okay, and you're not with those guys you saw in the fucking like the promos on TV. All these clean cut, ripped, want to do right for what's good people. You're not with them, man. You're fucking
playing in the background, you know.
yeah, with fucking Keith Davies fucking talking like, you want to join the best. You join the Navy or the Marines or whatever the fuck he's talking about. But, you know, you all these jets flying around and shit, Tom Cruise music playing in the background. That shit's not going on. You're with guys that got in because it was that or the judge was sending his ass to prison. You know? You're like,
all right. We'll get to that. But just so everybody's clear, so basically after you got your ass chewed out or whatever by everybody in the line, they basically said you're going to be an engineer. Is that what happened? Or
no,
what?
I already had the basics of enginering down. You know, what I mean by basic, I mean, you know, I know that if they put me in the bottom of the ship, that's where all the engines are. You know, that's about it, man. You know, like don't touch that; it's probably really hot. You know, that could kill you.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know they're like, okay, you have it down. You were doing really good. Blah blah blah. So we'll put you on the ship, and then that chief engineer on the ship will either decide, or if he just has a lot of fucking open spaces, ask you, like what happened with me, where do you want to go?
Okay, we'll get to that.
I got real fucking lucky.
Larry, at this point, I guess you'll just chime in when you have something to add.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know what else to ask you about. Sniper, so what happened with you? You got out of boot camp, and then you go to trade school as well?
Yeah, basically, I was kind of lucky. My basic training ended like directly when Christmas was coming up, and they give you like a couple days where you can just take leave and go home for Christmas. So I took like 10 days, I think, and then I just flew right out to Fort Bliss for what the Army calls AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, which is essentially trade school. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, they give you that leave there so you can go home, say hi, you know, to your family and stuff, but then they just send you right back out. And that was pretty good because my trade school was like 22 weeks long. I was there for like half a year.
Did you go in for what you're doing now? I mean, did you know what you wanted to do when you started that trade school, like type of thing? Yeah.
To an extent, but the Army, they let you choose what job you have before you go in. Like, you get to come in as the job you pick. But the details they give you about your job are very, very, very vague. So I came in with a really, really general idea of what I was doing. But it turned out pretty good.
Okay. Metal, what about you?
Same thing. Well, when I originally went to sign up for the Air Force, they were like, yeah, we need security forces, you know? And I was like, yeah, you know, I've always wanted to be a cop. And so I was like, all right, sign me up. Put me on security forces. And they were like, yeah, we'll get you in. The first time I went to MEPS, they're like, oh, we launched papers for what your jobs are. What are your top 5 jobs do you want? It's like, oh, I put security forces in my top job. You know, I had like 3 jobs I actually wanted, you know, and it MEPS, and I filled it out there. I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to be security forces. And then at basic, they make you fill it out again. And I was like, well, I already said I want to be security forces. Well, we don't actually look at that kind of stuff. And I was like, so what's the point? And it was like, oh, we're just trying to get you introduced to all the jobs and stuff, the Air Force. And so there, they actually make you fill out all 5 positions, and they make you fill out bases that you want, like you're actually going to get them. But when I went and signed up, I was like, all right, I know I want to be security forces, but I'd actually heard from people, yeah, security forces have like 3 extra weeks of basic training, and, you know, I mean, I heard some cool things, like, yeah, they get to use grenade launchers and M4s and shotguns and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, yeah, you know, and at the same time, I was like, well, I signed up for the Air Force because I didn't want to do more basic training, so AC-130 mechanic, or I'll be a, you know, operations or a ground transportation specialist. In my last one, I was like, I want to be a heavy equipment operator, because it was like, you work with equipment and help stuff. And I was like, all right, you know, and I ended up getting heavy construction equipment, basically construction in short term. And we went to tech school, which was 13 weeks. Pretty much they stick you in like a little actual like college dorm type thing. You have 3 people per room, and you learn how to drive dozers, dump trucks, loaders, every piece of heavy equipment that the Air Force has. We actually trained at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which is an Army base. We were trained alongside the Navy and the Army. They train on every different piece of equipment, and they train with us on some of them. And
now, I'm kind of naive. I mean, I know about the Army Corps of Engineers, but what exactly is the Air Force building? I mean, are you building runways? What is it that the Air Force builds?
Underground tunnels under Denver International.
Basically, when you look at the videos of bases, you see those barriers, like the sand-filled barriers, or you see the concrete walls, or like the different kind of walls around the bases. We build those. We build like basic roads, basic dirt roads. When we make like the preliminary base, we make all the dirt roads, and we make a fencing. We do everything. Basically, with any base, the Dirt Boys has had a part of each and every building. So I keep calling it Dirt Boys. That's our name. Instead of calling it construction, then we just call ourselves Dirt Boys.
Okay.
And we have potholes on the runway. We fix those roads, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just water breaks. We dig underground. We open up the water lines so we can be able to dig them. Pretty much anything that a regular construction company does, the Dirt Boys can do ourselves. We actually do a lot of concrete work over in the desert. That's basically all we do over in the desert. We build parking lots and roads. I mean, I actually talked to guys, a couple got back, and they laid, I think it was like almost 32 miles worth of like concrete parking lots, and it was just this ridiculous number. You know,
that is amazing. If you would have ever asked me what does the Air Force do, I would never in a million years thought you guys were building parking lots and doing construction and shit like that. I mean, just never knew. That's interesting.
Yeah, but the main part of our job when we're back home is water digs and some other stuff. But I know we'll get to that later. Tech school was a pretty interesting time. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't as basic at all. I mean, yeah, we had sergeants and stuff yelling at us most of the time, but it was honestly like a college experience. We actually get college credit for going through the tech school. Since it's a type of engineering school, we get college credits for going through that, and so all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, honestly, it was a lot of fun. We during the weekends, we got time off, and we were playing video games during the weekends, and it really wasn't that bad.
Okay,
so,
well, I mean, basically, the other armed forces sound like complete misery, and the Air Force sounds like good time.
Look on it. They have so many rules because the Air Force is popular because they want to get the smart people. They need to look easy because they need to get the smart people.
Right.
Because it's what we need.
Right.
I'm not calling the Navy dumb. I'm not calling the Army dumb or anything.
We are.
Like that.
Sorry.
I mean, they have. We work with a lot
offended.
of base. We have a Army Reserve Center. We have sometimes we actually have a Army Corps of Army Engineers building being built on base right now. So I mean, it's not calling them. It's just we need the smart people for the space program and the cyber program, and
learning
classified stuff.
Can't be a hair cutter.
So we got to look easy.
All right, cool. Bill.
Yes.
Me. So you went into training or trade school. Now, were you the guy? Because I get you and Vinoy confused of what you did in the Navy. Were you on an aircraft carrier at one point?
Yes,
Okay.
me was.
All right, smart ass. Tell us about your training, though. What happened there?
Well, I was because I guess I didn't score high enough in my ASVAB and to get anything I really wanted to do. So at the time, they had this thing called the apprenticeship program where you could do 2 years active duty, 6 years in the reserves on your contract. So I did that. And after boot camp, I went right into this apprenticeship training at Great Lakes. So, I
got out.
Yeah, I had a couple.
That sounded awesome, man. I was like, son of a bitch, when the fuck they offer that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So we're like right after, my boot camp, I had the weekend off with the family and stuff, and then they went home, and then I stayed for that apprenticeship thing, and it was like 3 more weeks or something like that for this training, and then I got to go home, for like leave, and before I had to report to my train, where I wanted to go. And I originally was signed up for, I think, seaman apprenticeship, where I was going to, learn to be a bosun mate or something like that on a ship. And then I was talking to some people, and I sounded like the airman apprenticeship program was a better deal, because I was going to get to work on, F-14s and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, I don't want to be scraping ships and stuff like that. I'd rather
stuck in the intake of a fucking airplane.
Yeah. Top Gun was,
I sucked in a lot of guys.
Yeah, so I was just like, so I was able to switch. I was like, hey, is there any chance I could switch, while I'm here? And, so they let there, yeah, sure, why not? Because you could see, it was really hard to qualify then. It was just like, just go ask them, for any of those. So I they ended up just cutting me orders for Virginia Beach at NAS Oceana, and so I went home, did my 2 weeks leave, and then I ended up, and the school was just very basic stuff, just teaching you what the rating badges stood for, and basic airman apprenticeship stuff, yeah, and then what you had to do when you showed up there, and basic air rate stuff, and then basically, then hey, when you got a report for your orders, and that was it. And
okay.
Then,
all right. So we got about 45 minutes left, and we haven't really hit the good stuff. So what I'm going to do is just ask everybody to talk a little bit about where they got stationed, and then we'll just go around, and if anybody has any stories that they wanted to bring up to the show, we can do that, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. Brian, so you got out and you got stationed where?
I was stationed in Long Beach, California after that, which I was just like, thank God, because my mom lives out there, so that kind of worked out pretty well. And you were living out there at the time, which, worked out pretty good too.
And you got on a what kind of a ship?
I was on an AOR. I was on the AOR 7, which was a tanker. Basically, we held the ship's mail, a lot of the food, and we also carried the majority of the fuel. So stationed in Long Beach, California, although I did not catch my ship in Long Beach, California. I was flown out from the West Coast, because when I got out of A school, they still give you a couple weeks off, because they figure, life's been pretty unkind, so that let's give him this poor man a couple of weeks where he can readjust to the fact that he's going to be on a ship slaving away. So I was in Cleveland for 1 week, and then I was in LA for another week visiting you and Mom, and then I got to go straight out to try to catch my ship, which they weren't sure exactly where it was. So for the first week, I was in the Philippines, which this is back when the Philippines was fun, if you were single and male. And then my ship was like, no, it's because they thought I was in Diego Garcia, which I understand is a really shitty place for, just about anybody. And they're like, no, it's at Cease, and I got to wait here. So, 3 weeks I was in the Philippines, which was really, 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 really fucking cool. And then I had to catch one of those giant fucking planes made out of cement and fly out to Australia to catch my ship. So once I'm like, I'm done. I've pretty much gone to every place that's really awesome. I don't really have a need to be in the military anymore, because I just wanted to see all this cool shit, and I got to. So thank you. And they're like, no, you don't get to go fucking anywhere. So, right from I was fucking broke, and, they dumped me in goddamn Australia, and they're like, well, go find your ship. I'm like, well, where is it? They're like, we don't know. Like, maybe you're unfamiliar with this, but I've never been to Australia before. And they're like, yeah, well, that's pretty much your fucking problem, isn't it? Like, great, that's fucking wonderful. So I was stuck on a continent I'd never been to, and I had to find my fucking ship. And I'm like, well, they're like, what kind of ship is it? I'm like, I didn't know shit, right? So I had to go find my fucking ship.
And your ship was part of, I think you said it was part of the Enterprise's battle group?
Yeah, the Enterprise, yeah. I mean, we filled up a lot of fucking ships, but that was the one I remember the most.
Okay.
Because, aircraft carriers, if you're on one or even if you're looking at it from they're just fucking gigantic. You can't even believe that thing doesn't sink. Yeah, so I was stationed out in Long Beach and caught my ship, got on my ship. Ship started to pull away from Australia. Finally, after I found it, I was there for like another week, but I was just trying to get oriented with being on the ship. Discovered I get seasick rather easily, which is fucking hell on earth for anybody that gets seasick. And then went from there to Singapore, which was awesome, until I discovered that while I was, on shore with everybody else, that I'm actually supposed to be back on the ship because I'm supposed to be standing a watch, which I was like, oh.
Oops.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking serious if you pull a stunt like that. But I got back before anybody missed me, so that was pretty cool. And then from there, it was February. We went up to Adak, Alaska to take on fuel, which was really fucking. I'm down. You have to stand watch in the bowels of the ship, and I was wearing a sweater because it was cold. And it's usually like 120 or some odd degrees down there, walking around and shit. And I'm down there with a fucking sweater on because it was freezing cold out up there.
Okay, well, you don't have to take me through your whole tour. I was just,
say Westpac 86. I was on that.
If
That's
you,
where I caught my ship, and yeah.
If you think of any stories, we're going to go around at the end.
Oh,
here.
Don't worry, there's plenty.
Sniper, you got out of a trade, and you got stationed where?
Basically, the entire 2 years that I was in active duty, they kept me at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which I don't know if you guys have ever been to Oklahoma. I think I heard some of you guys mention it. It's fucking terrible out there. Like, the only fucking thing you can do there is drink.
Anderson lived there for a while, and I think he would agree with you if he was on, because they didn't do shit out there except not eat and sit inside.
Pretty much that. I was like in 2 different units. The first unit I was in was supposed to be going to Korea, and I was all psyched about that. Then I got orders to go to a new unit that was just coming in from Korea so I could train their soldiers on how to do my job. So I basically just got fucked over that way. Spent 2.5 years just in Oklahoma, just getting drunk every weekend. Which...
That sounds terrible.
that part there isn't too bad. It's kind of funny. They almost encourage it because, like, the only place you can actually buy liquor 24/7 is on the army post. The little shopettes they got there.
Wow.
But they hook you up there.
So you can find, like, underage girls at 17 and be like, can you buy us beer? And you're like, not only can I buy you beer, but I can buy you beer 24 hours a day. No. All right. Metal?
I'm stationed straight out of tech school. I got stationed at Dyess Air Force Base. When I signed originally, I was like, all right, I want somewhere up north. I like snow. I like cold. They give you good gear, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, all right, we're sending you to Texas. All right. I didn't want to come back here at all because San Antonio was basic training. I was like, I fucking hate Texas. Everyone was dicks. And I was like, I don't ever want to go back to Texas. So when they stationed me here, I was like, wow, I wasn't excited at all. And they stationed me here, and I actually started. I really love it now. It's exactly like my hometown. I mean, the weather's freaky as hell, but you got to kind of deal with that. I'm actually part of the civil engineering squadron, which is basically anything that involves anything, air conditioning, plumbing, structures, construction, anything that involves anything on the base is what CE does. We fix everything. So, one of the stories I got is the runway we have. When planes land, they leave rubber every time they land, and they build up huge layers of rubber. And we have to go out there during the summer. It's the only time we can really do this. And we have to peel off the rubber that the planes leave, and we use a superheated gun, and it kind of gets rid of the rubber. And there was this crazy guy. Well, he's not. He's actually he's probably pulling one of the biggest stunts in Air Force history. He's gone 8 months, and he's only showed up to work for 3 days. He's getting paid full, plus disability, and he's fine. But needless to say, he was.
Mm-hmm.
We were out on the runway, and it's 101. This is last summer. And we're out there with these hot guns. We had a water truck, and it had to cool after we went over it. We fucked up the paint on the runway. And we're out there, we're getting rid of the rubber, and we hear this yell over to our left, and there's a naked guy standing on top of a water truck, which is basically like a bread truck with with a diesel thing in the back of it, naked. He was going Silence of the Lamb style with his legs tucked in and and standing on top of it, and he's yelling. He's hot. You can see the sweat. And the next thing we know, he's on the ground with combat boots, running about 100, maybe 200 yards down the airfield. There's power washing us. There's cameras on the airfield that pan back and forth, and he's running down the airfield naked, wearing combat boots. Just combat boots, no socks, just combat boots, just running down the runway naked. So yeah, that's probably one of the funnier stories I have.
Did he flip out? Was he just too hot? So that was it? One of those things? Was it just...
Yeah, he'd been complaining because we have cotton. They don't give us the right stuff because we have new uniforms for the Air Force. Recently, we had completely redesigned, and they haven't exactly gotten the cotton in the summer and the winter weight. So he's really hot, and he was complaining. He was responsible for the water truck. He had to drive forward and keep track of it. And like I said, one minute he was there, next minute we hear screaming and a naked guy on top of the water truck. So, yeah, that was probably one of the funnier stories we have.
Cool.
That I have.
Okay.
That damn crystal meth.
It's time for your analysis.
Now, Bill, you're a little bit different because you were in full time, and then you also got stationed as part of the reserves, right? So, could you
yes.
Tell us how you got stationed first, and then what happened to you, that kind of thing.
What?
Like how
during active duty?
Yeah, like right. Yeah, right. Active duty. You had different tasks, right? Or have you always done the same thing in the Navy? They just moved you to it. Because I don't know. When you originally went in, you had a job. Are you doing the same job now?
No, when I originally went in, I was, like I said, I was a non-rate airman. I ended up, working on F-14s as a plane captain. I was basically doing, like, the safety checks on F-14s before they were launched, filling the hydraulics, checking the hydraulics, making sure that, all the screws were there.
Was it pretty crazy getting on the aircraft carrier the first time? Were you like, this is, like a city?
Yeah.
Getting lost and everything inside because it's so big, that kind of thing? Or
yeah, definitely. I mean...
You had Marines on your ship too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a Marine detachment on there for security and stuff, and it was kind of cool because I don't know if Kevin remembers Mark Zabrowski. He went to Berea, but he was friends with Brian Stair, and so I used to hang out with him a lot. But he happened to be stationed on there, so then there was, it made it kind of cool that there was somebody I knew, on there. And when I was on the carrier, and when we went across... as big as that thing is, man, when we went across the Atlantic, we hit some pretty rough seas where, like, the bow of the carrier, like, went underwater, and the bow being, like, the very front tip.
Right. Fucking didn't crack in half.
Of that aircraft carrier. And they had us up on top of the flight deck, because when salt hits the aircraft carriers, it's like salt getting on your cars, you got to try and keep the salt off, so it doesn't cause rust and all that stuff. So they had us up there scrubbing and
during the storm, like when you're going through the rough water, or afterwards.
They had us up there. And it was raining and it was storming and stuff while we were going through the rough waters. They had us up there, and finally, I was like the first one, of course, like. Screw this, I'm going down below. I don't care if you want to throw me out. Screw you guys, I'm going home, So I threw my stuff down. I went down below before I call it like a training timeout or whatever. And this is before they even had them, And I'm like, I'm going down below. And then, finally, that's when, my chief and them were like, yeah, that's a good idea. You guys should come down here. He wasn't going to come get us, It's like, I had to say it, I had to tap out, and, but I mean, it was crazy, it was just like, for something that big, I mean, that's just how bad the seas could get. And this was in the middle of the Atlantic going over to the
Atlantic's terrible. I heard horror stories about that shit. So glad for the Pacific. The Indian Ocean is like, there's nothing.
But we ended up, for places that we ended up seeing, this is coming from Virginia Beach, from Norfolk. I actually out of Norfolk. I was on the Theodore Roosevelt. But my squadron was from Virginia Beach. But we ended up going over, it was supposed to be like a super med cruise, We were supposed to hit a lot of good stuff. And then we ended up, it ended up being, we were supposed to go over for the Bosnia stuff to enforce the no-fly zone. But it was supposed to be like a K cruise, man. We were supposed to hit Spain and Italy, Greece, and all kinds of good stuff. But then we ended up sitting out to sea for like 80 days before we hit Port, man. So we had a Steel Beach picnic, They ended up giving us a Steel Beach picnic where they had like one day where we sat out there and they actually like had beer flowing on, and you were able to have like 2 beers or something and eat good on top of the carrier.
Give you a headache.
Yeah.
80 days, man. That's crazy. Just sitting out there. Fuck. That's a long time.
Yep. So finally, we got the go-ahead to hit, we hit Greece, like 2 different parts of Greece. I think it was like Corfu, and I forget what the other part of Greece was, which was nice, and then hit Italy. And funny story, I got to go to like me and a couple guys, we went to this part, I think it was Corfu, Greece, and we're walking around, and we went to like totally nude beach, and we'd been doing some drinking, and this was back in, when I was probably in the best shape of my life, so I was like, well, what they say, when in Rome, so we decided to, join in the festivities, and got completely buck naked, walking around with everybody there, And,
there's a lot of naked stories on this show, folks. I have to apologize.
Yeah. Well, I was much skinnier then. I mean, I know, nowadays it'd be a horror story, like he rose from the the waters or whatever, But but I ended up. I mean, because we've been doing some serious drinking, and me, I always burn easily, being Irish and German and all that stuff. I got sunburned so bad. We get back to the ship, and I mean, I was burnt my ass, everything, and then the next day, when I had duty, it's like I could barely move. I had, and I have to throw, mind you, I have to throw like chains and stuff on my shoulders to go out there and chain down my jets and stuff after we're doing flight ops and everything, and I'm just like hurting, my skin's like falling off and everything, and I'm just like, I could barely do my job, and I'm just like in pain, and then I'm like, Chief, man, I can't do this, and they're just like, well, we can write you up for destruction of government property, and I'm just like, oh.
Happened to our dad too. He got a sunburn, and they were going to fucking write him up for whatchamacallit.
Yeah,
same goddamn thing.
Okay, so I'll go around now and just ask people for stories and stuff, and if you guys want to tell any stories over your time in the service, that'll be cool. We got about 27 minutes left before Blog Talk logs us off. We can stay on. We'll still be on Shoutcast until, for a little while longer if the show runs a little bit long, but because I just want to make sure we get everybody's stories in and everything like that. But, if you guys got to go at 10 o'clock or whatever, or if everybody's done with story time, then that's cool, too. I just want to, get that out of the way. So, Brian, you got anything for us?
Yeah, when we crossed the equator, that was fun. We had that little ritual. The Navy, I don't know who the fuck thought that bullshit up, but they want you. Or something. Yeah, get to be a shellback. Hooray!
Which is what?
You cross the equator and you go through a ritual, and the people, you have to understand. When I first got on my ship, okay, I was, I'm an engineer, but they didn't have a bunk for me, so they put me with the with the bosun mates. Okay, so I not only knew all the guys on the ship that were engineers, I knew all the guys that were bosun mates, and the guys on deck. So everybody wanted, I'm an asshole.
I'm sorry.
To take me out.
Real quick, can you guys tell me what a bosun mate is? I just don't know what that is. What is it? What do they do? What is a bosun mate? Is that an officer or something, or is it a guy?
They blow a whistle.
Oh,
and tie knots.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
And then when they were ready to retire, they got to go fight giant sharks.
Okay, guess we'll never know what that is. I'll have to look it up on the internet. Go ahead.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I never even really thought about what their exact job is. They just, take care of all the shit that needs to be taken care of on top of the ship, like, painting the ship, standing watch up there, yada yada yada.
Okay. So they don't have rank over you.
Oh yes,
they seem.
They do. Okay, all right.
They seem to get promoted faster for doing absolutely nothing in the Navy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because nobody wants that fucking job except for lifers. Yeah. So I was like hanging out with like some guys. We knew that it was going to be rough because we know the kind of fuckers that we were on the ship with. And remember that one weird dude that used to be really good friends with, Campbell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's sitting there telling me about how. He's telling me how like he's not going to have the shit like they said. You have to bow to the guy who's supposed to be Poseidon, which, as a matter of fact, was whoever plays Poseidon is the senior, like the guy on the ship that's like the oldest person in the Navy that's on our ship, and who just happened to be a bosun's mate. Come to think of it, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. I won't bow to anyone. And he didn't know this, okay, but we saw this shit. There's guys behind him taking notes about all the crap he says he was never going to fucking do. All right. Needless to say, that cocksucker did a lot of bowing and a lot of crying, because what these guys do the night before is they take like some old shitty fire hose they've had it, and they cut it down and they make shillelaghs out of them. They put them in fucking salt water and then put them in our freezers. Like I said, we transport the food. They're giant freezers. So all these guys walk around with fucking rock hard fucking shillelaghs. Like, well, you can only use fire hose because it won't kill anybody. Like, no, but it'll fucking leave an impression. Let's put it that way on your ass when they fucking crack it with these fucking things.
So would they wake you up and just start beating your ass, or what?
They have like they have little tortures that they put you through, and ours lasted for like 12 hours, man. It was like giving birth, and it was like everything from like. They make you run in place, do push-ups, pretend you're fucking each other, pretend you're sucking each other's dicks. I mean, just bizarre, humiliating shit. And if you do it wrong, they beat you. And
basically, Abu Ghrabi.
It's fucking horrible, man. And at the end, like, they actually you get up on top. If you make it, when you finally get to the top of the ship, the main deck, you're so happy because you know that this crap's almost over. But you're like climbing through chutes of garbage that people have vomited in because they're just like so grossed out. They're like, you see that cracker? Pick it up with your teeth. And you're like, all right, this is, I'm so numb now. I don't even care. It could be vomit. And I'm like, eat it, fine. Blah, fucking retarded bullshit, And then finally, they dunk you in clean. They tell you before they ask you, what are you when they throw your ass in the water, and you go, I'm a wog, or whatever the fuck it is. And they dump you on, and they point out, what are you? Like, I'm a shell. Like, hey, big celebration. Whatever clothes you were wearing, that goes right into the drink, man. You're like, you guys just walk around naked. Fucking, there's like these female officers that are our pilots. They're like, excuse me. They're like, ma'am. What do you say? Blow right past them, like, okay, there's a big party in the back of on the fantail or whatever, or the flight deck that we had, and I'm gonna go take a shower. I laid in my bunk and I just fucking died. I'm like, I'm done. That was the most fucking guys I knew in college were like, yeah, we had this initiation, we had to put on these robes and something, like faggots, You guys don't know what the fuck initiation is.
Okay, Sniper.
All right. Well, like I said, did a lot of drinking in Oklahoma, so a lot of my stories are kind of based around that. I think one of the funnier things that we did is every weekend, basically, all the enlisted soldiers, all us, regular Joes, we get together and throw a little barracks party, which kind of, people would have their doors open. You walk around, have a drink in one room, have a drink in another room, and basically, I ended up losing a bet where I had to go out and buy a fucking ghillie suit, which you guys know what a ghillie suit is? It's like
I vaguely remember that.
No, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
fucking camouflage suit that snipers wear.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
basically-
yeah.
You look like a fucking like
Bush.
Bigfoot or
A shrub-
something. Yeah.
One shrub.
So I'm just chilling out there in the middle of the barracks, drinking in a ghillie suit, and like people are like walking by. You know, they don't notice me at first, and they do a double take, and like, what the fuck, man? So I'm sitting there having a good time, and this fucking we got this ranger in our unit, which an army ranger's like, they're pretty much like complete fucking badass, you know, kick a door down type guys. We're just like regular troops, and this guy used to be a ranger, and he just walks over to me. He's like, "Hey," and I could already tell he's drunk too. He's like, "You know that ghillie suit's a piece of shit." He just went on for like 15 minutes just criticizing this fucking ghillie suit, and I just don't give a shit. I'm trying to be nice to him because he outranks the shit out of me. Anyway, this night goes on a little bit more. We end up drinking in my buddy's room. And it's like me, my buddy, and our little mutual friend. We're all getting drunk. And it's his room. He eventually just gets so drunk, he just falls on the floor, passes out. And me and my other friend, we just continue drinking, just completely ignoring this guy just passed out on the floor. So this guy just walks by outside. He sees, you know, our buddy just passed out on the floor. And he comes in, he's like, "Is he all right?" And my friend just looks at him and goes, "Nah, man, he's been dead for like an hour. We just don't know what to do with him." So he's just fucking flipping out, like, "Oh my god, we gotta call the first sergeant." Shit. That's like the best story I got, man, because he just completely believed it, dude. He was like about to run and get the little CQ sergeant on guard and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you get all fucking hot, fucking sitting around in that big ass suit, fucking drinking? I don't know. Seems like
Yeah, but it was pretty cold outside at the time.
Oh, really? All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Metal.
Trying to think. Well, we have these things called ORIs. They're basically, if we were under attack by the enemy and they had chemical weapons that could hurt us, practices basically. They last all week. And we had to get dressed up in this mop chemical gear, which is this thick ass, like, really heavy, you know,
giant
just like,
wool Sasquatch suit.
Yes, basically. And you gotta wear a gas mask, and you gotta carry like your little like fake needles and stuff, and you gotta and all this other stuff. And I remember they called a mop black, a mop 4 black, a mop 4. There's 4 different levels. One's like 1 is put on your main suit, 2 put on your boots, 3 put on your gloves, and finally 4 is put on your mask. And so mop 4 alarm red, which is a gas attack. And we're sitting there, and we're all getting in there, and there's like a little guy inspecting us, making sure we're doing it all right. And we're sitting there, and we have this on, and we've been sitting there for about, usually the calls only last about 5 minutes, and this one series, all these events happen in this one series. Since it was an exercise, we were at a shop, we were from the actual separate command center that was actually calling all this stuff out. We kind of got to do our own thing, and we knew the inspector that was with us. And we had a TV set up with World at War, Call of Duty set up on it. So we're sitting during an exercise at our job site in Mop 4, which is with gloves and, you know, thick padding on. We're playing World at War on the 360, you know, through a gas mask and stuff, which is hard enough to do. And we're just playing it like it was like we literally put our gear and just kept playing. Because he walked in and looked like, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, playing it." "All right." So we were playing that.
It's
and
like
next thing we know, we don't hear anything already. It only lasts like 5 minutes usually. 10 minutes later, we still hadn't heard anything radio. We're still playing. We hear, you know, like half the shop has fallen asleep in their gear. Because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. We were on 12-hour shifts. And we've been there. We got there about 7. And all we hear from like the back of the shop is like 4 people snoring in Mach 4. And it's kind of like that. It was like hearing Darth Vader sleep. It was awesome. And we throw stuff at them. Because they couldn't feel it. You know, we're throwing pins and stuff at them. We're just having fun. And about 30 minutes later, we're like, damn, we're starting to get hot in our gear and shit. And we're like, oh, man, this sucks. We're just waiting, and we're waiting. We're kind of like going in between World at War and talking. And We had a movie set up on a computer. We're watching a movie. We're still in MOP gear. And about 45 minutes, the big commander shows up when we see his car pull up to the gate. And we're like, oh, what's the commander doing here? You know, we turn off everything. We're putting it all up. He walks in. He sees us in MOP 4. He's like, what the hell are you guys doing? We're like, well, sir, they haven't called the alarm off yet. And they're like, are you kidding? They called it off like 40 minutes ago. We're like, what? He's like, what, is your radio broken? We're like, sir, no, we hadn't heard anything on radio. So we've been sitting there for 45 minutes in this heavy-ass MOP gear, you know, just sweating our asses off. You know, our visors are just, our radios were fucking broken. They weren't set on the right channel.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's like all the guys from it's like the bad guys from Half-Life 2 hanging around with the gas masks on and everything, playing games and shit. Bailey?
I don't know. What am I talking about?
You got any stories or anything from service?
I don't know.
You only been in like fucking 30 years or something. It's got to be something that's happened to you in the fucking service.
Yeah, a lot of things have happened to me. There's stuff happening to me now. But if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. No. Let's see. There was a time we were down in. I can't give names because some of these
the place you were at.
No, I could say where we were at, but I can't give people's names because some of them are still in, and I don't want them to get in any trouble. But one time we were doing one of our 2-week annual training deals, and they had us doing like a mock, tent city deal down at the beach. But they had us like secure where it was like, hey, we're gonna make it like, hey, basically, you're gonna use the water buffalo thing for a shower. We're gonna, you're gonna have the tent set up for messing. We're gonna have the motor pool set up to take the boat cruise to get the boat so you can do boat operations. But you're going to have to show ID to get on and off base. We're also going to have patrols, and we're going to have a team that's going to attack the base that you guys are on, and you're going to have to do mock, defend the base, watches, this, that, and the other. I mean, it was just...
You never got cool shit like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the SEALs are training, so get ready in case they attack. And this is like, they were just there and gone before you knew what the fuck was happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, we basically would get overrun each time, but we were working with the CBs. This is back when I was in an assault craft unit, ACU2, and we worked with the CBs, and we were like, hey, it was like Operation Delmar or something like this, and it's like, we didn't sign up for this. We're supposed to stay in Shields Hall. We're supposed to go out and drink every night. We're supposed to show up
supposed to be safe.
We're supposed to show. We're supposed to go drive our boats, and then when we clock off, we're supposed to go out and drink. This sucks. Nobody told us this was going to happen. But anyway, we ended up, and that's why I wish Jim would have called in tonight because he was there. He could second this. He's my witness. But we had a guy in the unit for some reason they decided to put ACU2 Cleveland. We were notorious for always pulling shenanigans, but they happened to put our tent next to the females' tent, and we had this guy in our group who is I swear he never ages. He has the Ralph Macchio, Dick Clark before the stroke, like the Highlander thing going. I mean, this guy's been in the Navy forever. He still looks like his boot camp picture, And so I don't know if it's like the natural herb thing he's on or whatever, but this guy just had some strange ability to never age, and do all kinds of other things. But anyway, and now, of course, the spies decide to come downstairs to hear this story anyway. But this guy was able to talk to and we had this sister or brother unit from Baltimore, ACU2 Baltimore or whatever, that we were always rivaling with, Well, anyway, I guess they were talking while they were out doing boat maneuvers with the ACU2 Baltimore, and he ended up talking to this girl or whatever, and they happened to be staying in the tent next to ours, and he ended up talking to her and, getting her to come over and visit us in our tent. And we have a guy who's got a great singing voice also, and he sung for the Cleveland Indians the national anthem in his uniform to start the game on Military Day before and this and that. So we have him sing the national anthem, I don't know, just to do it, And she's like, wow, that's great. She's like, that really gets me excited, And
Nice.
And we had something like, we worked out something like, hey, if he sings the national anthem, will you show us your, tits? And he sang it and sounded really good, He even did his little like me, and so and he did it. So she took off her top, and then the guy in question that talked to her, that brought her in, was just like, wow, well, you know what, that gets me excited. So then he dropped his pants and he has this raging boner, and then she's like, wow, I like that, Next thing you know, him and her are going at it right in the middle of our tent, and then everybody's just like, they pull the flaps down, and the whole tent, just like a circus tent, just goes and all the flaps go down, and everybody just like, and it's dark, and we're all just sitting there in our cots, and we just got our little flashlights out, and we're all just watching the show right in the middle of the tent. And this dude's just putting on a show, and this girl just doesn't care. We're all just like watching, and we're all like kind of choreographing and like throwing comments, and critiquing and everything. Me and my buddy Jim are just like, we're like Siskel and Ebert, making it was like Mystery Science Theater of porn or something.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and mind you, this was like the first night. This ended up happening again a second night, but this time we were smarter and we used our red lenses, so that you didn't see a bunch of white spotlights. Like all of a sudden, it was like night. But yeah, I tell you, I mean that was like, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would never believe. We could have gotten a lot of trouble.
Okay. Okay, we got time for one more round, and then we'll probably have to wrap it up. So if you're listening live in about 7 minutes, it's going to disconnect the Blog Talk radio feed. So if you're in the chat room and you don't know how to listen, somebody else in the chat room can tell you how to get on Shoutcast and listen that way and continue to listen to the show. Or you can wait for the podcast to come out when the show's done. But yeah, recording will stop in 7 minutes on Blog Talk. Brian, you going to tell the story about when you guys were sitting in the ship and then the bomb fell down on top and you had to run out, or you got something for us?
Oh yeah, I guess I can tell that.
Crazy monkey.
No, we did that one. We're not doing monkey again. Yeah. No, I was on our ship, and they live test fire a lot of the shit that's on there, to make sure it still works. Like we got the Sea Whiz. People that are unfamiliar with the hell the Sea Whiz is, the thing on the ship was like R2-D2 with a big fucking heart on.
Oh, yeah.
And just, spray and pray, taking out missiles and stuff. And that was the one thing on our ship that actually did work. But we also had anti-ship, or I guess you call them rockets. Don't ask me what the hell they were. I don't remember anymore. And you're not supposed to be in the engineering compartment because that's right where they had all that shit going on, testing it and stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just... I had nothing else going on. General quarters. I don't remember why the fuck I didn't have to be somewhere.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what the fuck I did. So So I'm up there, and we're hearing the rockets taking off. I think that was just it. I just went up there for a minute just to hear what the fuck those things sound like. I mean, when those Sea-Wiz take off, man, I mean, Bill says like a giant zipper, but it didn't sound like a giant zipper. It just sounded like a lot.
Well, after my story, everything sounds like a giant zipper.
Oh my, yeah. You have the cool sex story, and I got the fucking stupid R2D2 dick story. So I want to hear what the fuck the rockets sound like. So you hear them, and they're like rockets taking off, and you hear they're firing them off. And I got up there, and it's like the last couple, and they're just like fire 1, 2, 3, and then they got down to I guess there's 8 of them total. I might be wrong, and I guess I got to 6 and went, and you hear this loud. And then all of a sudden you hear fucking alarms go off, general quarters, and we're like, what the fuck was that? So we all had to run to our assigned general quarters area. For me, it was in the middle of the goddamn ship. And come to find out, one of the rockets had misfired and fucking came down on top of the fucking flight deck, which is right above us. And some dude fucking had enough brains, one of the Airedales had enough brains to jump into the forklift and just because it was live. If it had gone off, man, we would have fucking totally been smoked, right? And just fucking threw it off the side of the ship. The rocket, the forklift, the whole goddamn thing went right into the drink, man. I mean, the guy. I mean, they didn't pat him back, but they didn't really, they didn't really say anything about it either. Because he did kind of save everybody's ass, But even so, it was fuck, unfucking believable, man.
Wow.
Okay. I'm saying.
Larry, did you have any final wrap up? Got any advice for people thinking about joining the service or anything?
As a counterpoint to Brian's story about the guy jumping in the forklift and driving the live rocket off the ship before it killed everybody, I will say that by way of contrast, when we were doing the hand grenade range, because with my job we had to qualify with the hand grenade, and they don't want a bunch of idiots running around throwing actual hand grenades, because contrary to what you see in the movies, an actual hand grenade will do a whole hell of a lot of damage to a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. So we get these stupid little pop grenades that just sort of, which, I suppose if you actually were holding it in your hand when it went off, it might suck, but that's about it. So we were doing that, and one guy, we were doing the one you have to be able to hit a target from however the fuck far away it was. And this dude, when he pulled the pin and whipped it back, and of course dropped it behind him. And this one dude, who obviously had seen way too many movies, runs over and throws himself on the grenade to save us all. He's all and he jumps on it, and under me just hear.
That's funny.
Thank you.
They were all like, my hero, you saved us.
Blog Talk's going to go in 2 minutes, and I'm not sure, Metal, if I'm going to be able to keep you on, so I'm going to call you on the number I have here, this 563 number. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to hang up on you in a minute, and then I'm just going to give you a call right back while we're talking. Sniper, you got a story for us?
Yeah, sure do. All right, I'm going to go right back into, I think what Metal was talking about earlier. I think he was explaining an ORE, which is these field training exercises that we got. And we had one similar to that, where we had to go out into this fucking spot in the middle of nowhere, set up a bunch of razor wire, and, set up these tents and vehicles and stuff. And then we'd have, people from other units come in and attack our site.
90 seconds.
Bunch of bullshit. So anyway, we were out there one night, and I had the night shift every fucking night, so it was fucking 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every fucking day. And basically just freeze our ass off all night, and fucking go do checks every hour. And I'm out there one day, and I see this fucking Humvee pull up, and I'm like, ah, fuck, here we go. So I walk back in, walk up to my old sergeant, I'm like, hey man, I just saw a Humvee pull up, should probably report that in. He's like, yeah, no, I'll take a look. He wanders out there, and I'm like, oh, this can't be good. And immediately, I just see him get lit up by these dudes with blanks in their rifles and shit. So they're just fucking lighting him up. He's down. I'm like, oh god, here we go. I gotta fucking defend the entire CP little command post tent by myself. So I'm sitting there with my saw, because I was the saw gunner, which is like our little machine guns we got. I'm sitting there, I just have that trained on the door, waiting for some fucking bastard to open it up and just light him up. And in the meantime, we have these little computers, which our higher command is sitting there, you know, just basically screaming for us to give him a sit rep. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to guard the door, man. I can't. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. They're not going to leave me alone. So I'm sitting there, one hand just typing out this little sit rep to send up the command. The other hand just trained on the door. Fucking, this dude just pops his head in. I just see the little Velcro open. I just see a fucking head with, like, camo paint all over it, stick his head in. I just fucking unload the saw on him. He just walks in, he's like, fuck. It's like, all right, dude, you're done. So we ended up calling that a night. My friend is just passed out. I guess he didn't hear the gunshots going off. And he has, like, a pair of headphones on. I guess he fell asleep listening to his iPod. I was like, all right, I got to get back as this, dude. So I take out my iPhone, I pull up like this internet radio station on it, and I'm like, all right, what am I going to find here? So I find like German folk music, take his headphones out, plug it into my iPod, and just leave it there. And he's sitting there listening to it, like half asleep. He kind of like looks up, looks at his iPod, tries to go back to sleep, gets up again. He's like, what the fuck am I listening to? So I'm like, yeah, you know we just got attacked, right? He's like, what? Yeah, that's me getting back at you for not fucking giving me a hand.
Damn.
Yeah.
You could have just borrowed Brian's iPod. He has plenty of German beer hall music.
I got all sorts of good shit, man.
There are thunderstorms, just, you know.
Enya,
Yeah.
Slayer.
All mixed together.
Yeah.
Metal, you got a story for us?
Yeah, I got some stories from my sort of players.
Typo negative.
Don't even go there.
One of the jobs for Dirt Boys is we have to. I have. This is why I have all consideration for truck drivers, because we have a sweeper, street sweeper, and we have basically sweep the runway, and the street sweeper is a low-speed street sweeper, so we're not allowed to go over 5 miles per hour, and we have to drive on the airfield for 7 hours a day straight in a little sweeper in a truck, basically, a little international. And, yeah, that's not so much fun, but we have handheld radios because we have to keep in contact with the tower. And I was sitting there, and I actually bring my iPod and a book, because I mean otherwise I go stir crazy from sitting inside that thing going 3 miles per hour in a straight line for 7 hours a day. But I wasn't really paying attention. I was listening to my music, you know, I was jamming. And Dias, or where I'm at right now, is it's one of the longest runways in the Air Force. And we have the C-130, which is our cargo ship, our cargo plane that drops, you know, the thing, you know, with the planes falling out of and the parachute opening up, and that's the C-130.
Right.
And then the C-1 bomb, the planes you see fly over drive, the huge amount of cluster bombs, like the huge cluster bombs where you have tons of explosions. Yeah, that's the B-1. But I was out there, and I'm sitting on the Alpha taxiway, which is one of the main taxiways when the plane gets off. I'm jamming my music, and I hear the little beep on the radio. I was like, oh, it can't be for me, because there hasn't been a plane out there. There's a plane taking off for another hour. And so for about 10 minutes, I keep hearing this beep on the radio. I'm like, damn, that's just getting annoying. I'm listening to my iPod, I'm reading my book, and needless to me, I had a line of planes waiting to get by me. I had two B-1s and a C-130 behind me on a taxiway going 5 miles per hour, and they had a scheduled time to take off. And yeah, that was kind of my experience of pay attention to the radio, don't listen to your music while driving on an taxiway. So I got chewed out quite badly for that. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but it wasn't. I didn't hold up planes past their scheduled flight time. I didn't get in a lot of trouble.
You're just like the pilot of one of those planes. You're just like watching you. You're like, what's this guy doing? You know, get him out of here. You know, it's fucking funny.
But also, advice for deployers: don't take porn. It isn't worth it. You get in a lot of trouble. for taking porn. Yes, it is very illegal in Iraq, and it'll get you into a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Also,
General Order 1 Bravo.
yeah, and also the women aren't worth it because there will be, and I have heard stories of women charging for sex, and it is not worth it. I mean, it's a lot of trouble you can get into. And
you've heard stories about that. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. And third, if they tell you to bring 10 paper clips and a tube of KY jelly, bring it and don't argue with them. Don't decide, oh, I don't need that, because everything that they tell you to bring, you need to bring or you'll get in trouble. And get good with both left and right hands because you're going to be using them a lot.
Awesome. All right, Bailey?
Okay, let's see. I guess I can talk a little bit about Kuwait. What's a good story? I don't know. What do you guys want to hear?
I don't. Well, we don't know what happened. You got to tell us what happened to you, man.
Tell us the story about the dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
Does the Navy have any sort of like chemical equipment or any sort of heavier stuff? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, we have our own mop suits. Those suck. I can talk about the time I was in Repair Locker 5 and I started farting from milk. I drank milk whenever we had to put our Mark 5 gas masks on. And the fucking lieutenant in the room was fucking screaming at me through the gas mask to knock it off. He was laughing because his goddamn voice going to sound like Darth Vader. He's like, knock it off, goddammit. You stinky fucker. That shit isn't funny. Yeah, that's crazy shit right there.
Oh, man. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what. I'm horrible at this. I know I'm supposed to do my homework. Kevin sent us lists weeks in advance. And I just blew it off. I was just like, oh man, how can I really upset Brian because Peter Steele's dead now?
Yeah. No, I was shocked. I was like, what? I thought it was a joke, and then I was just like, he's dead? Really? That sucks, dude.
He's been dead.
I've seen him 3 times live. That was always fun.
I was at Scarhead Wednesday night, and Ezak made a comment about it on stage during their set, oh yeah, rest in peace, Peter Steele. And I'm typo negative and carnivore. And I'm like, what? And I'm standing there next to Bullock, and I'm like, Peter Steele died, and James is like, I guess.
Yeah.
Just this was Wednesday, and it was just
yeah, Saturday
midnight.
I find out. Yeah, what the hell, man?
Just at midnight. I'm like, I know he's from New York, but what? Did he just get a text from his people or something? It's when did this happen? I haven't been on the internet all day, but
yeah, he's hooked up.
So then right away I was like, oh, Kevin's going to cancel the military show. It's going to be a tribute to Peter Steele all night. I know how much they
that's going to happen.
Sad songs. And no more
Cinnamon Girl.
Yeah, that's good drinking music. Yeah.
So,
you want to just kill yourself.
So, Bailey, you went over to Kuwait. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, what are the women like over there, man? What the fuck do they look like? Are they all bundled up and shit, or what?
Yeah.
Well, their eyes are quite nice.
Yeah, they have very pretty eyes.
I started thinking some crazy shit, too, after a while. God damn.
When we... Oh, yeah. I mean, I tell you what, going abstaining, forcibly from sex for that long a period. When we did get to go on MWR trips into town, you get these weird fantasies when you're walking around in the mall and you see these women all covered up and all you see is their eyes and you think, yeah, what if I just hooked up? And it's a mall just like our malls, and how you have those back hallways that go behind the stores, behind Manchu Walk where the bathrooms were and all that stuff. I was like, hey, maybe if our eyes meet and she likes me, we can just have some freaky action. I could just lift up the skirt, and get underneath there real quick. But it then, it could be like a Wookiee underneath there. I don't know what. But it's just like, that's my mind wandering and like, oh. But not all of them.
Stinks.
Yeah, God. Yeah, Gryphon comes out. But not all of them wear that. Not all of them follow, like, are totally hardcore, follow the religion. A lot of them, are like westernized, I mean, the malls are, pretty nice malls. And I mean, they're like, they're a very wealthy country. So, a lot of the women are just like beautiful, man. I mean, just knockouts. And they tell you don't make eye contact, don't stare at them, stuff like that. But it's hard not to, because some of them are just like so, incredible, And so it's like, I'm trying to be respectful to their, their rules and everything, and just,
But in the meantime, you're thinking to yourself, fuck them.
Well,
we conquered you, you deal with it.
Yeah, we saved your ass from Saddam, Come on, you owe me one. I wasn't even here, but I signed up to help you. I was in the delayed entry program. I was thinking about coming over here to save you. So.
Okay. Basically, unless anybody wants to shout out that they've got any other stories that they would really like to get out, I'll really quickly just go around and just ask if people are listening and thinking about going into the service. Brian, what's your piece of advice you would give them?
Think hard about that, because especially now, since we are kind of in a state of perpetual warfare, you really want to consider all the aspects of what you're getting into, and
only bring a toothbrush if you do go, right? That's the
yeah. Never get fucked in a feather bed. That's my advice. Now, if you're going in, I mean, find out what it is that you're getting into. Like, make damn sure that whatever it is that whatever part of the service you're getting, make sure, like, if you think you're going to be safe at your particular job, ask a lot of questions, man. Find out everything you need to know before you go in, especially from like cats that are already in. Like, what does this job entail? What do I got to know? What do I got to learn? And then learn as much about that shit as possible before you go in there. Because there's lots of guys, like, they wanted to be like, doc, I'm a good doctor, don't do that shit. But they didn't fucking even try to fucking learn anything about, like, medical school. They thought, I learned first aid. Like, no, that's not going to cut it, man. So they basically got fucked. They end up, like, swabbing decks someplace else. Like, learn everything you can. And whatever you learn, I mean, whatever job you're taking, you're stuck with that shit. So,
okay. So don't fuck around. That's what Brian said.
Yeah, just, keep it together, man, because once you're in, man, you're in. You don't have a choice on what the fuck you're going to be doing. You can't change your mind. You're stuck.
Okay. Larry, any piece of advice? Tell people not to get their spinal...
if you wind up in the hospital and you feel like a pain, keep your mouth shut. Don't let them do x-rays and just go about your business. And some people will tell you to make sure that you have all your affairs in order, have all your shit straight, because, the military, if your I's aren't dotted and your T's aren't crossed, they will screw it up. My bit of advice would be none of that matters. They will screw it up. So don't even waste your time trying to make sure you've got your shit straight, because as I was talking about the other day, as we've established here in my short tenure in the Army, I never left Fort Knox, Kentucky, yet I still spent the better part of 2 years trying to show the Army that they did not give my wife and my son too much hazard pay while I was in Kuwait.
Okay. Sniper?
Probably my biggest piece of advice, if you're going in especially, one thing you really got to keep in mind is to keep your cool, because when you come in at first, these drill sergeants or drill instructors or whatever they're called in different branches, are just gonna fucking hammer you down, and they're just gonna fucking pick at you, and you just gotta keep a straight face, because all they're looking for is to get some sort of reaction out of you, and that's their job, basically. Once you get out, that shit's gonna cool down. Occasionally you'll have some sort of sergeant or something that's just gonna get on your ass like that. Again, same thing, just don't get into it with them. Just give them the old Roger Sergeant and move out, do what you gotta do. Because as soon as you backtalk, they're gonna try to slap some court-martial shit right on you.
Okay, all right, awesome. Metal?
Really, the only advice I have to say is, just like Sniper said, when you go to basic, and they're just gonna, as long as you can take getting yelled at, you're good to go. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, this basics is horrible time because the way the movie started, but I mean, honestly, it's not. I mean, I'm coming from the Air Force. I know it may have been easier to us doing any of these other types of stuff, but honestly, I think with Sniper's example, as long as you can get yelled at and you can take being criticized, you'll have no time getting through basic. And if you don't join the military for money, you just won't get anything out of it.
You won't get a lot of money either.
No, I mean, honestly,
not the best change
the money that you do get, the money that you do get is through you get free medical, you get a lot of free stuff, but at the cost of getting, cheaper paychecks. All in all, I mean, yeah, you get paid a lot, but I mean, it's more for different things than what you realize. Don't spend all your money. I know when you do come in and you might have came in for different money, you come in, you're like, oh yeah, I got my first, real job. I got all this money. I have all this money coming in. Don't spend it right away.
Don't get married either.
What do with it.
Yeah.
Don't marry somebody from another country.
Right now.
If you're married, you get to move out of the dorms, though.
Yes. I get out in December when I make rank, but I mean, the big thing is don't do stuff rashly because you join the military. Don't think, I'm in the military, I have all these choices, and I'll sit down and think about it. And don't let women take advantage of you. You're a free ride. They would never have to work again if you married them, at least to the Air Force. I know if I were to marry a wife, I'd never have to work again. So, I mean, just don't rush stuff. Take your time.
If you're in the Navy, when you get married, your wife's going to pass around.
Yeah.
That's really my own advice, is take your time.
Okay. Bailey?
Don't buy a car right outside base. Wait till you go. Save your money. Wait till you go home on leave. I would say honestly, right now, with the way everything is and the economy and everything is in the country, I mean, I'm talking as an E6 now. Looking back, I mean, yeah, I'm just a reservist now, but when I go away on my ATs, I just came back from Denver doing my annual training for 2 weeks. I'm making pretty damn good money, plus I got 2 dependents, plus, the housing allowance and this, that, and the other. I mean, if you can make it, if you can, I mean, nowadays too, I mean, you're making rank pretty quick. You can you get signed up and you're almost putting on E4, if you just, do a couple things right, like recruit a couple people going in, you're almost putting on E4 before you get out of boot camp nowadays. So, I mean, I think if you put on E4, you can get out of staying on base. You can get out. You can get out and get an apartment or whatever. So, I mean, it's something to consider. You definitely want to study for your ASVAB. Take it serious. I didn't. But take it serious and really look into what you want to do. Something that you're going to enjoy doing, not something that this is going to make me a lot of money when I get out. Yeah, that might be good, but look at something that's going to actually be around in the future, because a lot of things aren't, that the Navy has to offer. You got to look at technology or whatever, something that's going to be around. I mean, but right now, man, I look back and I wish I would have stayed in, because I could be a chief right now if I would have stayed active. And I'm looking at it in like 4 days. I'm looking at being in the Navy for 18 years because I don't have a break in service. I mean, I went straight from active duty to the reserves, and I'm looking at 18 years of service.
How long
Once
are
I
you
get
going to be in that to retire, man? You got like, what,
20
30
years.
20 to retire.
Yeah.
20 to retire, man. So I'm looking at 18. You know, I could have been a chief, you know, and I could retire and start collecting my pension, you know, in a couple more years if I would have stayed active duty. If I could have just, you know, put up with people's shit and stayed focused. But we all know that wouldn't have been me. But it is what it is. But I'm saying to people now, look at where we're at. Look at where this country's at. Look at, you know, this is the only job out there, you know. And no offense, you know, against the Army. You know, they're offering a hell of a lot because they want to get a lot of people in right now. But you're going to get deployed every 6 months almost, you know. So think about that. If that's something you want to do right now and take all that money in, but if you want to eventually settle down, or if you do have a family now, or you do have somebody, I would consider what branch you choose your, you know, they say in the Navy, choose your rate, choose your fate. You know, well, it's the same thing right now with what branch you pick. You know, you got to think about how often do you want to get deployed. I just did my mobilization in 2008 with the Navy. Right now, I don't have to really worry about getting mobilized again for, you know, I think it's like 4 years in between each mobilization, so I don't have to worry about going again for, you know, a couple more years.
Unless you're a cook and there's an earthquake in Haiti, then you get mobilized.
Yeah, and they can take her.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, I mean, you know, I would seriously look around at what your options are now, unless you're doing like super good in school, you know, and there's something out there in the job market for you, you know. Just like I said, study for that ASVAB, really look into what you want to get into, and like everybody else said, man, don't make any hasty decisions when you do get through boot camp and you're in there. I know, you know, you get lonely when you're away from home. It's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a girlfriend.
Don't get fucked in the ass.
Yeah. I want to buy a car so I can right away so I can go meet girls and I can go pick up this girl I'm talking to or whatever, man. You do stupid things for girls. Don't, you know?
All right. Well, great. I really want to thank Sniper, Metal, and Bailey for all you guys coming on the show, as well as Brian and Larry, of course. As they're here every week, unless they want to play dead or something.
Unless you bitch about us not fucking showing up.
There has to be some punishment for not showing up.
You call off, we don't get to make fun of you.
Well, that's because I control the microphone.
No.
More importantly, when Kevin calls off, we get the week off.
Yeah. Everybody gets the day off. No,
everybody
but really,
wins.
Thanks to everybody for showing up. It was really great. It was a great show. And
really great show.
Yes. And if you're listening to the show, in 2 weeks we're going to do another Midwest Wasteland. We're going to do technology through the years. We're going to start off talking about plastic records and 8-track tapes from Brian in the 70s up until and we're going to move through all the different things like, you know, when we had cable and we're going to talk about how things have changed over the years. And we're going to do that in 2 weeks on the next Midwest Wasteland. Next week we're going to have video game news radio as usual. So sports is going to start at 11:10.
11?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. My brain's not working right. 10:40.
You need 40 minutes to
I'm
upload
sorry.
this?
10:40. I don't know why I looked at that way. 10:40 is when we're going to do sports, which will be next. And that's it. We don't really have an outro for Midwest Wasteland. So if anybody got any shout-outs or anything?
Good old private first class friend of mine. I'm not going to use his name for the same reason I'm not using mine.
All right. Well,
hey, I got a shout out to my boy Figueroa over at Africa right now serving. Come home safe. And congratulations to new Senior Chief Callis, who's serving over in Kuwait right now. You come home safe as well. And all my other brothers that are back over serving another customs mission in Kuwait, you guys come home safe.
Shout out to all the dirt boys at 7 CES, and keep up the good work.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks again, guys. It was great. Stay tuned for sports if you're listening live. 10:40, we're going to start that. And that's it. Peace out. Later.
See ya.
Peace.